You've been lied to about peace. They told you it comes from luxury beds, perfect routines, expensive teas, or the latest sleep gadgets. But if that were true, why do so many people with all of it still toss and turn at night? Why do you still feel heavy with thoughts, replaying old worries, unable to let go? The truth is, peace doesn't come from the outside. It grows within. And for thousands of years, Buddhist wisdom has carried the map teaching how to calm the mind, soften the heart, and rest in a way that heals not just the body but the soul. The Buddha, and generations of monks after him, unlocked secrets of clarity and rest that go far deeper than sleep hygiene tips. Lessons that free you from the grip of overthinking, that dissolve the fear of tomorrow, and that bring you to a place where night feels safe, soft, and sacred. Tonight, as you listen to these lessons, something will shift. Your racing thoughts will begin to slow. Your breath will grow lighter. Your chest will feel less tight. And as you drift into rest, you'll sense a peace you may not have felt in years, a peace that doesn't vanish with the morning alarm. When you wake, you'll notice it, a mind less cluttered, a heart more open, a body more alive. The world will feel clearer, gentler, and finally, under your control. This is not just another guide to better sleep. This is a transformation waiting to happen. Are you ready? Let's begin. The night has always been more than darkness. It is a mirror, showing back every thought you tried to ignore during the day. You know the feeling. The house is quiet. The world outside has slowed, yet your own mind refuses to rest. It clings to the mistakes, the conversations, the endless lists of what still needs to be done. This is where many lose peace, not because life is hard, but because they cannot let go when the day ends. Buddhist teachings offer a path out of this trap, a way of loosening the grip of thoughts so that rest becomes natural, not forced. To let go before sleep is not weakness, it is strength. It is the practice of releasing what you cannot carry into the night. Letting go is often misunderstood. People think it means not caring, giving up, or pretending nothing matters. In truth, it is the opposite. Letting go is caring in the right way, at the right time. It means you see clearly what belongs to this day and what does not. The Buddha taught that attachment creates suffering, and clinging to unfinished tasks or unspoken words only binds you tighter to the fire of restlessness. Before sleep, detachment is not about abandoning your responsibilities, but about recognizing that night has its own sacred purpose, to restore, to renew, to cleanse the mind. You do not need to solve everything before resting. You need to release the illusion that you can. One of the simplest practices is acknowledging the weight you carry. Instead of forcing yourself to push away worries, notice them as they arise. Thought of work? Acknowledge it. This belongs to tomorrow. Memory of an argument? See it for what it is. This is already past. Each acknowledgement is like loosening a knot. The knots are still there, but they no longer strangle your mind. Buddhist monks often use the phrase, "leave it on the cushion." It means that during meditation, whatever thoughts come up are placed down, not fought with, not judged, simply released. You can do the same at night. Leave it on the pillow. Letting go also has a physical dimension. The body stores the stress of the day in ways we barely notice. Shoulders pulled tight, jaw clenched, stomach unsettled. Detachment begins by noticing this silent holding. Lay down and pay attention to one area at a time. Relax your brow, soften your jaw, release the shoulders. This is not only relaxation, it is teaching the body that it no longer has to defend itself against the day. You are safe now, and safety is what allows sleep to come. Buddhist texts often speak of the body as a vehicle. When you release tension, you are not just relaxing, you are taking care of the very vessel that carries your consciousness through life. Another layer of letting go is tied to identity. You have a name, a role, responsibilities: parent, partner, worker, friend. These roles are necessary, but they are also heavy when carried into the night. The moment before sleep is your chance to set them aside. In Buddhist practice, there is the recognition that the self is not fixed. It shifts, it changes, it is not solid. Before sleep, remind yourself, you do not have to be the worker, the parent, the provider. You are simply awareness resting. In that moment, your true self is not defined by tasks or titles. This gentle release can feel like freedom, the kind of freedom children naturally know before sleep claims them. The art of letting go is also about trust. Many resist sleep because they feel they are losing control. They keep replaying scenarios as if, by thinking harder, they can prevent what may happen tomorrow. Yet Buddhist wisdom teaches impermanence. Nothing is fixed, nothing stays exactly as it is. Trusting this truth means accepting that no amount of clinging will freeze the world or solve tomorrow in advance. Rest is an act of faith, a surrender to impermanence. Each night, when you close your eyes, you are practicing the same letting go that death will one day require. In this way, sleep becomes a daily rehearsal for peace. It is natural to resist surrender. The modern mind is trained to achieve, to control, to always do more. But the mind also needs a balance between effort and release. Think of a bow held too tightly. It snaps. The Buddha called this balance the middle way, not too tight, not too loose. At night, letting go means loosening the strings. You have worked, you have tried, you have lived. Now you allow life itself to take over. The earth continues to spin, the moon continues to rise, and none of it requires your control. By letting go, you align with this greater rhythm. There are also practices that make this letting go easier. Writing down your thoughts before bed can act like emptying a cup. A journal becomes the safe container for everything unfinished, so your mind doesn't have to carry it. Once written, it is no longer floating in your head. Monks often use chanting for the same reason. The repetition of a mantra shifts the mind from scattered thoughts to a steady rhythm, creating space for silence to enter. You do not need to be in a monastery to practice this. A few words of kindness, a breath repeated with awareness, can have the same power. Letting go is not only for the restless mind, but also for the restless heart. Resentments, regrets, disappointments, they echo louder at night. Buddhist compassion practice offers a way through. Before sleep, silently offer forgiveness. To yourself, to others. It does not mean excusing harm, but it means choosing not to carry the poison into another day. Anger is heavy, forgiveness is light. The more you release, the more room there is for rest. Scientific studies support what Buddhists have known for centuries. Mental clutter disrupts sleep. Neuroscientists show that the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for planning and analyzing, often stays overactive when we carry unresolved thoughts into bed. By practicing detachment, whether through breath, writing, or compassion, you allow this part of the brain to settle. The nervous system shifts from fight or flight into rest and digest, the state where true recovery begins. What science confirms, Buddhism has lived for generations. There is also a beauty in ritual. Monks close the day with specific chants or bows, signaling to the body and mind that the day is complete. You can create your own small ritual. It may be as simple as lighting a candle and blowing it out with the intention, "This day is done," or washing your face slowly, as if cleansing not only your skin, but also your mind. Rituals are reminders, guiding you from the noise of day into the quiet of night. Each act says, "I release, I rest, I renew." The power of letting go before sleep lies in its consistency. One night may feel difficult, another may feel easy, but the practice is cumulative. Each evening you release a little more. The mind learns a new habit: to trust silence, to embrace rest. Over weeks and months, this habit reshapes not just your nights but your days. You wake with clarity, with steadiness, because the mind that learns to release at night becomes the mind that can release in daylight too. The habit of clinging loosens everywhere, not only in bed. There is also a spiritual dimension. Letting go is not simply practical, it is sacred. In the stillness before sleep, you are entering a state close to meditation. Thoughts dissolve, awareness softens, the self loosens. Many Buddhist masters describe sleep as a teacher, one that reminds us of impermanence, emptiness, and the illusion of control. To rest well is to live in alignment with these truths, not fighting them, but flowing with them. Night then becomes not just recovery but practice, a spiritual offering where you train in the deepest wisdom of letting go. Over time, you may notice something extraordinary. As you practice letting go before sleep, your dreams themselves change. They become lighter, less filled with conflict, sometimes even luminous. The subconscious, once filled with fear and repetition, begins to reflect the peace you cultivate. The boundary between waking and sleeping thins, and clarity begins to follow you through both. This is the hidden gift of Buddhist practice. Transformation does not end when the day does. It continues quietly in the night. What you are learning here is more than a sleep technique. It is a way of living. Detachment is not cold, it is compassionate. It allows you to face the world fully during the day because you know you can release it at night. It teaches you that peace is not about fixing every detail of life, but about knowing when to hold on and when to let go. Every evening becomes a training ground, a chance to free yourself, a chance to rest not just your body but your soul. And so, as this lesson closes, take this truth with you. The art of letting go before sleep is not a loss. It is a return to your natural state, where mind and heart are unburdened, where the night is not an enemy but a friend, where rest is not chased but welcomed. This is the first step on the journey to peaceful rest and a clear mind, and it is the foundation upon which all other lessons will build. When you learn to let go, the mind begins to settle, but letting go alone is not enough. The mind and body still need something steady, something to hold on to as they release their grip on the noise of the day. This is where the breath enters as a guide, quiet but powerful, leading you into the depth of rest. It asks for nothing. It has always been with you, and yet most of the time you barely notice it. The breath is the most loyal companion of your life, rising and falling without demand. And when you finally pay attention to it, you discover that it is the teacher you have been overlooking. The rhythm of breathing is the body's natural way of speaking to the mind. When you are anxious, the breath shortens, chest tightens, and the cycle of stress deepens. When you are calm, the breath slows, expands, and gently reassures every system within you. Buddhist practice treats the breath not as a background function, but as the bridge between body and mind, the meeting point where awareness can change the entire state of being. In the night, when the mind wants to run, the breath offers an anchor that does not pull you down but steadies you like roots of a tree. Paying attention to the breath is not about controlling it forcefully. The Buddha spoke of knowing the breath as it is. Long breaths are known as long, short breaths as short. This awareness, simple but profound, begins to retrain the nervous system. When you notice the breath without judgment, the body responds by releasing tension, and the nervous system shifts away from survival mode. It is not the length of the breath that matters, but the attention you give to it, the silent acknowledgement that you are here, that this moment is enough. Many people think of breathing as automatic, which it is, but what is overlooked is how much it reflects your inner state. The nervous system has two gears, one for action, one for rest. Most of the day is spent in action, even when you sit still, because the mind keeps you in alertness. By watching and gently guiding the breath at night, you invite the body into the opposite gear, the one meant for healing, repair, and deep rest. Science calls it the parasympathetic state. But in Buddhist practice, it is simply the state of being fully present, where the breath becomes a teacher of peace. There are practices that deepen this awareness. One is to feel the breath move in the nostrils, cool air entering, warm air leaving. Another is to rest your attention on the rise and fall of the belly, not forcing it but noticing its natural rhythm. This attention draws the mind away from scattered thoughts, bringing it back to something real, something living in the present. Every time the mind wanders, you return to the breath. Each return is not a failure but a victory. It is a reminder that peace is not found in forcing stillness, but in returning again and again to the quiet rhythm already within you. At night, this practice carries unique power. The darkness often makes the mind restless because it feels there is nothing to hold on to, but the breath is always there. Following it gives structure to the night without needing light, sound, or distraction. Slowly, you notice the body begin to relax on its own. The shoulders soften, the heartbeat steadies, the eyes grow heavy. It is not sleep you are chasing, it is trust in the breath. Sleep becomes a natural outcome, not the goal. The Buddha compared this to taming a wild animal, not through force but through patience and steady care. The breath also teaches impermanence. No two breaths are the same. Each one arises, exists for a moment, then passes. When you pay attention to this, you see life itself in miniature. Worries may feel heavy, but they too are like breaths arriving, passing, dissolving. By observing the breath, you train the mind to accept change, to stop clinging to what cannot last. This lesson, subtle yet powerful, allows you to meet the night without fear. You begin to trust that everything, even restlessness, will pass in its own time. There is a healing power in the way breath travels through the body. With each inhale, oxygen nourishes every cell. With each exhale, toxins and tension are released. This cycle is constant, effortless, and deeply cleansing. To become aware of it is to align yourself with the body's own wisdom. At night, this awareness becomes medicine, calming the heart, easing digestion, loosening the grip of stress. Monks often describe breathing as drinking from a hidden spring. It is always there, waiting to refresh you, but most never stop to taste it. In Buddhism, breath is also linked with mindfulness of the body. When you breathe with awareness, you are not separate from your body anymore. The mind, which usually floats in the past or future, returns to its home in the body. This union dissolves anxiety because anxiety lives in thoughts of tomorrow or regrets of yesterday. The breath lives only here, and by being with it, you too return to now. In the quiet of the night, this return is like stepping into a safe shelter after wandering in a storm. There are also deeper practices where the breath becomes not only a tool for calm, but a doorway to insight. When you follow the breath to its very end, you begin to notice the pauses between inhale and exhale. These pauses are moments of stillness, where the mind touches silence without effort. Rest is hidden in these pauses, a natural space that requires nothing from you. If you rest there, even for a second, you touch a peace that does not depend on circumstances. Sleep that follows this peace is not only restful but transformative, as if the mind has drunk directly from the source of clarity. Breath awareness can also be combined with compassion. As you inhale, feel as if you are drawing in calmness, kindness, healing. As you exhale, release tension, anger, or fear. This simple shift transforms breathing into an act of care, a way of cleansing not only the body but the heart. At night, such practice softens the edges of harsh memories and makes space for gentle dreams. Compassion carried through the breath is subtle but lasting, and over time it begins to reshape the way you experience rest and waking life alike. Modern science supports these teachings with clarity. Studies on slow breathing show that it lowers blood pressure, reduces stress hormones, and activates the body's healing systems. Yet what science calls relaxation, Buddhism calls awareness. The two meet in the same place, the quiet rhythm of the breath. By practicing it consistently, you reshape the nervous system itself, teaching it that rest is safe, that calmness is possible. The nervous system learns through repetition, and each night you spend with mindful breathing becomes another lesson written into your very biology. The power of the breath as a silent teacher is that it requires no special tools, no external rituals. It is already within you. You can practice it lying in bed, waiting for sleep, or when you wake in the night. You can return to it when thoughts overwhelm or when the heart feels heavy. The breath does not leave you. It is steady, loyal, patient. In every inhale and exhale, it whispers the same truth. Peace is here, if you are willing to notice it. Over weeks and months of practicing with the breath, you begin to notice shifts that go beyond sleep. The mind grows calmer during the day, less reactive, less pulled by sudden emotions. The heart grows steadier, more compassionate. The body recovers more fully, with greater energy in the morning. What started as a practice for sleep becomes a way of life, a daily reminder that peace does not come from control but from trust in what is already present. And so, when the day closes and the night comes, you do not need to fear the thoughts that arise. You have a teacher within you, silent but clear, steady but gentle. Each breath carries wisdom older than words, and when you follow it, you step into a rhythm that has been guiding life since the very beginning. Rest then is not forced but received, and clarity is not chased but revealed. The breath, unnoticed for so long, becomes the doorway to the peace you have been seeking. When the breath becomes your silent teacher, guiding the body into calm and the mind into clarity, a new lesson arises. It is not only about releasing or observing, it is about balance. Too much effort, and the mind grows tense. Too little effort, and it falls into dullness. Rest is not found at either extreme. The Buddha called this the middle way, and it applies not only to meditation or daily living, but also to the way we approach sleep. The night becomes a reflection of how you live, either pulled by overexertion or lost in laziness. True rest is found when these two are brought into harmony. Many people approach sleep as a task to be conquered. They push themselves into routines, track every minute with devices, and judge themselves harshly if they cannot fall asleep quickly. This effort creates more struggle than peace. Others fall into the opposite trap, allowing the body and mind to sink into careless habits, staying up late without purpose, scrolling endlessly, or using sleep as an escape. Both extremes steal clarity. The middle path shows that rest is not about control or neglect, but about conscious balance. Finding this balance begins with understanding rhythm. Nature itself follows rhythm. The sun rises and sets, tides flow in and out, seasons turn. When your nightly routine honors rhythm rather than fights it, rest follows naturally. Forcing the body to sleep before it is ready only builds resistance. Ignoring the body's signals of fatigue leaves you restless when the night is half gone. The middle way teaches you to listen closely, neither pushing nor avoiding, but responding with wisdom to the body's natural cycles. Balance also means holding discipline lightly. Discipline is needed to set boundaries, turning off lights at a certain time, limiting distractions, preparing the body for sleep. But discipline becomes a burden when it is rigid, when missing one step brings frustration. The middle way is consistency without harshness. If one night you stay awake longer, you do not punish yourself. You simply return the next night. This approach reduces anxiety around rest, turning it from a battlefield into a practice of kindness. The nervous system reflects this same principle. Too much activation keeps you alert, unable to rest. Too little activation sinks you into sluggishness, where the mind becomes cloudy. The breath can guide you toward the balanced state, but balance also comes from choices. What you eat, how you move, the way you spend your evening hours. Stimulants too close to night push the system toward agitation. Excess inactivity during the day creates dullness at night. A balanced day naturally supports a balanced night, showing that the middle way is not only a nightly practice but a daily alignment. Mental balance is equally essential. Overexertion appears as constant striving, reviewing tasks, worrying about outcomes, trying to control tomorrow. Laziness appears as avoidance, numbing the mind with distractions, refusing to reflect, running from discomfort. True balance comes when you allow reflection, but set it down at the right time. You acknowledge what was done and what remains, but accept that night is not the place for solutions, it is the place for renewal. This clarity of purpose frees the mind from both tension and apathy. There is wisdom in preparing the body with gentle effort. Stretching, light movement, or simple rituals signal that the day is closing. This effort is not strenuous, it is deliberate care. Yet it is balanced with surrender, the willingness to stop, to let go of action, to enter stillness. Without effort, surrender collapses into lethargy. Without surrender, effort collapses into striving. Together they form a rhythm, like inhaling and exhaling, each supporting the other, each incomplete without the other. The middle way of rest also applies to the way you relate to your environment. A space too rigidly arranged, obsessively controlled, creates pressure rather than calm. A space too chaotic, cluttered, or noisy prevents the mind from settling. Balance is creating a space that is simple, supportive, and alive with quiet intention. A bed made with care, lights softened, distractions reduced, enough order to invite peace, enough softness to avoid rigidity. Your environment becomes a mirror of the middle way, holding you gently in the balance of effort and ease. Emotionally, balance is found by meeting yourself honestly. Some people demand perfection of themselves at night, replaying every detail they could have done better. Others dismiss their own feelings, burying emotions until they leak into dreams. Balance is allowing emotions to be acknowledged, then offering them rest. You can recognize anger without feeding it, sadness without drowning in it, joy without clinging to it. The middle way is emotional honesty guided by compassion, neither suppressing nor indulging, but letting emotions pass through the heart like clouds across the sky. The teaching also extends into thought. Overthinking is one extreme, where the mind refuses to stop working. Numbness is the other, where the mind collapses into dull distraction. Balanced thought at night is gentle reflection, gratitude for what the day brought, awareness of impermanence, then silence. It is not about solving, but about witnessing. When you practice this, you train the mind to let go without falling asleep unconsciously. Rest becomes mindful, full of awareness, and yet free of tension. One of the most powerful aspects of balance is timing. Too much control of timing creates obsession, counting hours, measuring sleep cycles, stressing about wake-up times. Too little attention to timing creates chaos, where the body never knows when to rest. Balance is consistency with flexibility. You respect the body's natural signals, align your routines to support them, but accept that life shifts. This flexibility itself reduces stress, teaching the mind that peace does not depend on perfection. Spiritual balance also reveals itself here. Some treat night as wasted time, rushing to finish tasks, sleeping as little as possible. Others treat it as a void, a meaningless gap between days. Buddhist practice reveals night as sacred, a time for renewal of body and spirit. Sleep becomes service to life itself, preparing you to act with clarity and compassion when day returns. This view brings dignity to rest, a middle ground between dismissal and overemphasis. You rest not as indulgence, not as punishment, but as practice. Balance even shapes your dreams. A restless mind clings to effort, creating chaotic dreams. A dull mind sinks into heaviness, leaving dreams empty or forgotten. A balanced mind rests in clarity, where dreams may become gentle reflections, even teachers. Night, then, is not wasted or feared, but embraced as part of the path. Another arena where balance shapes peace. Practicing the middle way of rest is a lifelong journey. Some nights you lean toward effort, others toward laziness. What matters is noticing, correcting, returning to balance again and again. Just as a tightrope walker wobbles but continues, so too does the practice of rest. Each return is growth. Over time, the swings lessen and balance becomes natural. You no longer fight with rest or neglect it, you live it as part of the way. As the body and mind learn this balance, mornings change. You rise, not heavy, not tense, but clear. Energy flows steadily, instead of in bursts or collapses. The clarity of night carries into day, shaping the way you work, speak, and act. Balance at night teaches balance in life. And this is why the middle way is not just a philosophy, but a lived truth. It transforms the smallest acts, even lying down to rest, into steps along the path of wisdom. To carry this into your own life, notice the extremes. When you push too hard, soften. When you slip into neglect, rise with care. Build gentle rituals, but hold them lightly. Respect your body, but do not worship control. Allow emotions, but release their grip. See night not as enemy or escape, but as a sacred time for balance. Every evening is an opportunity to practice, every morning a reflection of how well you walked the middle path. The Buddha's teaching of balance was never about grand gestures. It was about the simple moments where wisdom meets daily life. Sleep is one of those moments. In the middle between effort and surrender, you find peace. In the middle between control and neglect, you find clarity. In the middle between striving and apathy, you find rest. This balance is the doorway to freedom, carried quietly into the night and revealed in the clear mind that greets the morning. Balance in rest teaches you how to walk the middle path between effort and surrender, but balance alone is not the end of the journey. What you carry into sleep has a direct impact on the quality of your dreams and, more importantly, the clarity of the mind that greets the morning. Thoughts are not harmless shadows. They are seeds. Whatever you feed the mind before bed is what blossoms in your inner world during the night. Buddhist teaching calls this karma not as punishment, but as the natural consequence of the patterns you cultivate. The karma of thought is especially powerful at night, when the conscious mind softens and the deeper layers of awareness take over. Every thought has weight. A harsh judgment, a regret, or a worry may feel small in the moment, but when repeated, it shapes the pathways of the brain and the tendencies of the heart. If you fall asleep replaying conflicts or anxieties, the subconscious continues the work, weaving them into restless dreams. When you wake, those impressions remain, leaving you heavy before the day even begins. In contrast, if you close the day with clarity, gratitude, or compassion, the mind receives those seeds, and they grow into dreams that restore rather than disturb. Sleep is not just the body's recovery, it is also the mind's mirror. Purifying thought before dreaming begins with awareness. Many people live as though their inner dialogue is background noise that cannot be changed. Yet Buddhism teaches that thoughts can be observed, understood, and transformed. The key is not to suppress them, but to see them clearly. Just as a gardener removes weeds not with anger but with care, you can tend the mind by noticing harmful thoughts before bed and gently replacing them with those that nourish peace. The final hour of the day is the most fertile soil for this work. One practical method is reflection. Before sleep, review the day with honesty. See where you acted with kindness, where you faltered, where you grew. This is not a judgment but a clearing. By acknowledging the truth of your actions, you prevent the mind from carrying hidden guilt or denial into the night. The Buddha encouraged daily reflection for monks and lay followers alike, not as punishment but as purification. What is faced directly dissolves its power. What is avoided festers. When you close the day with clear reflection, the mind rests lighter, unburdened by hidden weight. Equally important is the practice of directing the mind toward wholesome states. Thoughts of gratitude, compassion, or forgiveness are not trivial, they are medicine. Neuroscience shows that focusing on gratitude before bed lowers stress hormones and promotes deeper sleep. Buddhism has known this for centuries, teaching metta, or loving-kindness meditation, as a nightly practice. When you rest your mind on goodwill, the heart softens, and dreams often reflect harmony rather than conflict. Even if the day was harsh, ending it with kindness rewrites the story your subconscious carries into sleep. Purification also means letting go of thoughts that do not belong to you. Many carry the worries of others, family, friends, even strangers into their own rest. Compassion does not mean carrying every burden endlessly. Before sleep, release what is not yours to solve. A simple mental ritual can help. Breathe in compassion, breathe out release. You offer care, but do not tie yourself to the weight. This practice aligns with the Buddhist teaching of skillful compassion, help without attachment, love without bondage. Night then becomes a time of renewal rather than exhaustion from unending responsibility. The karma of thought also extends into intention. Before sleep, set a clear and gentle intention for how you wish to wake. It could be as simple as, "May I rise with clarity," or "May I bring peace to others tomorrow." Intention shapes the mind like a compass shapes direction. Even if you forget it while dreaming, the subconscious remembers. Research in psychology confirms that intention before sleep influences memory, creativity, and problem-solving. Buddhism frames this as the law of cause and effect. The seeds you plant in thought today bear fruit in your experience tomorrow. Dreams themselves can become part of purification. Instead of treating them as random, you can meet them with awareness. If you wake from a troubling dream, notice the emotion it left behind. Is it anger, fear, longing? See it as a reflection of the mind state, not as prophecy. Then, release it. Some Buddhist traditions encourage gentle contemplation of dreams as teachers of impermanence and illusion. Just as dreams dissolve upon waking, so too do worries dissolve when seen with clarity. By treating dreams as lessons, you transform even unsettling experiences into opportunities for insight. Purifying thought also involves the discipline of consumption. What you read, watch, or discuss before bed becomes food for the mind. Violence, gossip, or noise leave residues that surface in dreams. The Buddha emphasized guarding the senses, being mindful of what enters through eyes and ears. By choosing uplifting, calming, or truthful content before night, you feed the mind with nourishment rather than toxins. This is not about isolation, but about wisdom. Knowing that the quality of your rest depends on the quality of what you allow inside. Forgiveness is another crucial step in this purification. Resentment carried into the night poisons rest. Even if you cannot resolve a conflict outwardly, you can choose to release its grip inwardly. Before bed, offer a silent forgiveness, not necessarily to absolve others but to free yourself. This act purifies the heart, loosens knots of anger, and creates space for peaceful dreams. Over time, this practice changes not only your nights but your days, as the habit of forgiving becomes more natural, less conditional. There is also the need to purify thought toward yourself. Many people end the day with harsh self-criticism, replaying mistakes, calling themselves names, feeling inadequate. This is a form of mental violence. The karma of such thought is carried into dreams, often manifesting as nightmares or feelings of worthlessness upon waking. To counter this, practice gentle self-compassion. Speak to yourself as you would to a dear friend. You tried, you learned, you are still worthy. This is not indulgence, it is medicine. The Buddha taught that self and other are not separate. Compassion given to yourself extends outward naturally. Rituals of purification can be subtle but powerful. Lighting incense, chanting softly, or even placing hands together in gratitude signals the mind that the day is complete and that only peace is welcome in the night. These actions anchor thought, steering it toward clarity. Neuroscience shows that ritual stabilizes the mind, creating predictability that reduces anxiety. In Buddhism, ritual is not superstition but skillful means, tools that guide the mind toward wholesome states. The effect of purifying thought before sleep is cumulative. One night of kindness may ease a dream, but months of practice reshape the entire landscape of your mind. The subconscious becomes less reactive, the heart more resilient, the mornings clearer. This is the karma of thought. Each effort compounds, each seed grows, until the mind itself becomes a field of peace rather than a battlefield of restlessness. To live this teaching is to take responsibility for your inner world. You cannot always control the events of the day, but you can choose what thoughts you feed as night approaches. You can choose honesty over denial, gratitude over resentment, compassion over anger. These choices ripple into the night, shaping not only your rest but the quality of your waking life. The mind purified before dreaming is the mind that wakes free. And so, as the day ends, treat your thoughts as sacred offerings. Let go of what is harmful, cultivate what is wholesome, set intentions that align with peace. This is not ritual for ritual's sake. It is the practice of shaping your inner world with care. The karma of thought is always at work, whether you notice it or not. By purifying it before sleep, you take the first step toward dreams that heal, mornings that uplift, and a life that reflects clarity in every moment. When the mind is purified before dreaming, the ground is prepared for peace, yet there is something more powerful that deepens rest and transforms the night into healing. That power is compassion, not the fleeting kindness that comes and goes when convenient, but the steady warmth of loving kindness that Buddhists call metta. It is more than a feeling, it is an inner posture, a way of holding yourself and others with gentle care. When compassion becomes the state you enter before sleep, rest changes its nature. The heart loosens, the breath steadies, and even dreams soften into teachers of healing rather than vessels of fear. Compassion as a sleep aid works because the nervous system responds to the emotions you cultivate. Anger or resentment tightens the body, keeps the heartbeat fast, and creates tension in the muscles that prevents deep rest. Compassion signals safety. It tells the body it no longer needs to guard itself. Studies in neuroscience reveal that practicing loving kindness lowers blood pressure, reduces stress hormones, and increases activity in areas of the brain linked with emotional regulation. The Buddha did not frame it in scientific terms, but he understood the same truth. The state of the heart shapes the quality of rest. Cultivating compassion before bed can begin with yourself. Many people carry the day's mistakes as heavy stones. They replay words they regret, tasks left undone, or opportunities missed. This constant self-criticism is like drinking poison before lying down. To counter this, you practice speaking to yourself with kindness. You remind yourself, I did what I could today. I will continue tomorrow. I am worthy of rest. Such simple phrases transform the mental climate. Instead of falling asleep in self-judgment, you rest in acceptance. This self-directed compassion does not make you weak. It makes you resilient, because only a rested heart can carry responsibility wisely. Compassion extends naturally to others. Before bed, bring to mind someone you love easily. Let your heart rest on the feeling of warmth for them, wishing them safety and peace. Then, slowly, extend this to others in widening circles. Friends, strangers, even those with whom you struggle. The practice is not about forcing affection, but about softening resistance. Metta is the steady willingness to wish well-being, even if forgiveness is not complete. This practice reshapes dreams. Instead of conflict replayed in sleep, the mind begins to weave images of connection, reconciliation, or gentle release. Night becomes a place where the heart learns what it cannot yet do fully in waking life. Compassion also brings safety to the subconscious. Fear is often the source of restless nights, whether fear of failure, of loss, or of the unknown. Metta transforms fear not by denying it, but by surrounding it with care. Just as a child settles when held, the mind settles when wrapped in compassion. You can practice this by breathing in gently and silently, saying, "May I be safe." Breathing out, "May others be safe." The repetition builds a rhythm of care that quiets the nervous system. Over time, this rhythm carries into sleep itself, shaping not only dreams but also the state in which you wake. There is also a healing quality to compassion. When you wish well-being to yourself and others, the body responds with openness. Muscles release, digestion improves, and the immune system strengthens. Rest under these conditions becomes not only longer but deeper. The Buddha taught that a person who practices metta sleeps easily, wakes easily, and dreams no evil dreams. This is not poetry, it is practical truth. Compassion lightens the burdens you carry, allowing the body's natural healing processes to unfold. Compassion also changes how you view the struggles of the day. Instead of ending the night in bitterness, you see difficulties as part of the human condition. Everyone makes mistakes, everyone suffers, everyone longs for peace. This understanding dissolves isolation. When you rest with compassion, you rest with the knowledge that you are not alone in your struggles. This perspective itself eases the heart. It turns loneliness into connection, resentment into understanding, and fear into shared humanity. Sleep then becomes not escape, but communion with life. There are practical ways to weave compassion into nightly routines. You may sit for a few minutes in silence, repeating phrases such as, "May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings rest in peace." You may write a short note of gratitude or kindness, either to yourself or someone else, closing the day with words of care. You may simply place a hand over the heart before lying down, feeling warmth spread through the chest and allowing that warmth to soften the edges of the day. Each act is small, but its effect accumulates. Over time, the body and mind begin to associate night not with struggle but with kindness. Compassion also changes the way you wake. A night shaped by anger often brings mornings filled with heaviness. A night shaped by compassion brings mornings of clarity, where energy feels lighter and the mind feels open. This is the hidden power of metta. It is not confined to the hours of sleep. It seeps into waking life, shaping how you greet others, how you respond to challenges, how you carry yourself through the day. Compassion practiced at night becomes compassion lived in daylight. Another layer of compassion as a sleep aid is how it interacts with forgiveness. Dreams often reveal unresolved tensions, faces of those we fought with, situations left incomplete. By practicing compassion before bed, you loosen the grip of these unresolved conflicts. You may not solve them outwardly, but inwardly you stop feeding the fire. This reduces the emotional residue that feeds restless sleep. Forgiveness through compassion is not forgetting, but it is choosing to rest without chains. The practice also softens the fear of impermanence. Night is a small rehearsal of death, a letting go of control, a surrender to the unknown. Many resist it unconsciously, fearing loss of awareness. Compassion eases this surrender. When you cultivate kindness for yourself and others, the unknown feels less threatening. It becomes another opportunity to rest in care. This perspective transforms sleep into a spiritual practice, not just a physical necessity. Compassion also protects against the isolation of suffering. In modern life, many carry silent pain, loneliness, grief, anxiety without sharing it. At night, this pain often surfaces. Metta meets it with tenderness. By wishing well for yourself, you remind the heart it is not abandoned. By extending wishes outward, you remind yourself that countless others are also suffering. And in wishing them peace, you connect across distance. This dissolves the illusion of separation. Rest becomes not only personal but collective, a small act of healing for the whole. Science echoes this truth. Studies show that compassion practices increase oxytocin, the hormone linked to bonding and safety. They reduce cortisol, the stress hormone that keeps the body alert. They improve heart rate variability, a marker of resilience. These biological shifts confirm what Buddhism has taught. Compassion is not only noble but practical. It rewires the nervous system, making deep rest possible. The transformative power of compassion at night is that it changes the story you tell yourself. Without it, the story is often one of failure, resentment, or fear. With it, the story becomes one of care, forgiveness, and connection. Dreams follow the story you tell, and mornings inherit the mood of those dreams. By practicing compassion, you write a different script, one that heals rather than harms. To live this practice, begin where it is easiest. Start with kindness toward yourself, then extend it to someone you love. Gradually, widen the circle. Over time, even difficult people may enter this circle, not because you excuse harm, but because you refuse to let harm poison your rest. Compassion is not weakness, it is strength. It allows you to sleep without enemies, even if conflicts remain unresolved. It allows you to rest without self-hatred, even if mistakes remain. It allows you to dream without fear, even if challenges remain. Compassion as a sleep aid is not about escaping life, but about preparing to meet it with clarity. The Buddha's words remain true. One who practices metta sleeps easily, wakes easily, and dreams no evil dreams. To practice it nightly is to cultivate a mind that rests in peace, a heart that heals in dreams, and a life that reflects kindness at every dawn. Compassion opens the heart and softens the night, but even compassion requires something deeper, the willingness to surrender. Many resist the coming of darkness because it feels like losing control. The mind clings to light, activity, and certainty, while night reminds us of stillness, silence, and the unknown. This resistance is why so many cannot rest fully, even when the body is tired. Buddhist teachings on impermanence offer a way to meet darkness not with fear but with acceptance. When you surrender to the night, you are not defeated, you are aligned with truth. Darkness is not absence but part of the rhythm of life. And learning to embrace it mindfully transforms rest into a spiritual practice. Fear of darkness has ancient roots. Long before electricity, humans associated night with danger, predators, and vulnerability. Though modern life has removed much of that physical danger, the nervous system still reacts. Darkness triggers the mind to be alert, to seek control, to resist surrender. Buddhism teaches that fear arises from clinging to safety, to light, to certainty. By releasing this attachment, you meet night as it is, without demand. Accepting impermanence means recognizing that day gives way to night just as life gives way to death, and both are natural, unavoidable parts of existence. To resist this truth is to exhaust yourself. To surrender is to rest. Mindful surrender begins with reframing darkness. Instead of treating it as emptiness, treat it as fertile ground. Seeds grow in the dark soil, the body heals in the quiet of night, and the mind restores itself in silence. Darkness is not void, but womb, holding the possibility of renewal. The Buddha compared the night of ignorance to the darkness before dawn, temporary, necessary, and followed by light. When you view darkness through this lens, fear loosens its hold. You no longer struggle against it but rest within it, trusting that it is part of life's rhythm. Practical surrender involves releasing the need to control outcomes before bed. Many lie awake because they try to force rest, demanding sleep on command. This effort only sharpens wakefulness. Mindful surrender shifts the goal. Instead of chasing sleep, you open to rest. You let the body lie still, the mind soften, and trust that sleep will come when it is ready. This shift removes pressure, reducing anxiety that feeds insomnia. Surrender is not failure. It is wisdom, the recognition that some things cannot be forced. The same way we cannot stop the sun from setting, we cannot demand sleep, but we can allow it to arrive. Darkness also mirrors impermanence. Each night is a small death, the closing of one day, the loss of one set of experiences, the dissolution of one set of thoughts. To surrender to this process is to practice acceptance of the greater impermanence of life. The Buddha encouraged contemplation of death not as morbidity, but as liberation. When you face the inevitability of endings, you stop clinging and begin living with greater clarity. Night is an invitation to practice this, letting go daily. To lie down in darkness and accept its stillness is to rehearse the art of release. This practice reduces fear not only of sleep but of life's greatest uncertainties. Mindful surrender is supported by ritual. When you dim lights, put aside distractions, and enter a quieter rhythm, you are signaling both mind and body that the day is complete. Ritual does not erase fear, but it provides a bridge into surrender. Simple acts: closing a book, placing hands together in gratitude, taking 3 conscious breaths, create markers that guide you into darkness with intention. This guidance reduces the feeling of being pulled unwillingly into night. Instead, you step into it as a chosen act of alignment. Surrender also means meeting silence without escape. Many fill the night with noise, television, music, endless scrolling because silence feels uncomfortable. Yet silence is where the mind releases its grip. Buddhism teaches that silence is not absence but presence. It is the space where awareness reveals itself. When you sit with silence at night, without distraction, you discover that it is not threatening but nourishing. The mind may resist at first, throwing up restless thoughts, but with patience, silence becomes the very ground of peace. To surrender to silence is to allow the mind to return home. Another dimension of surrender is trust. Trust that your body knows how to heal when you let it rest. Trust that your breath continues without your control. Trust that night always gives way to morning. Without trust, the mind clings and resists, unable to release into rest. With trust, surrender becomes natural. This trust is not blind, it is born from observing impermanence. Every night has ended with dawn, every breath has given way to the next, every challenge has shifted in time. By seeing this truth, trust grows and fear diminishes. Mindful surrender also involves meeting the unknown with openness. Darkness hides what is familiar, creating unease. But Buddhism teaches that the unknown is not enemy, it is life itself. Every moment of tomorrow is unknown, every breath beyond this one uncertain. By resisting the unknown, you create suffering. By opening to it, you discover freedom. Night is practice in this opening. Each time you close your eyes and surrender to what you cannot see, you train the mind to meet uncertainty with calm rather than fear. There is wisdom in allowing the mind to soften its grip on identity in darkness. During the day, you wear roles: worker, parent, friend, decision-maker. At night, those roles dissolve. You are no longer defined by tasks or responsibilities. Many resist this dissolution, clinging to identity even in bed, reviewing what they must be tomorrow. Surrender means releasing roles and resting in being itself. You are not your job, your duties, or your failures. You are simply awareness resting in darkness. This release brings profound rest, because the heaviest weight we carry is often the sense of who we must be. The practice of mindful surrender also heals the body. Tension is the physical form of resistance: tight shoulders, clenched jaw, restless legs. When you surrender, you give the body permission to let go, breathing into tense areas, softening muscles with awareness, and consciously releasing physical resistance allows the nervous system to drop into deeper states of repair. Healing happens most fully when the body is not fighting itself. This surrender is not passive, it is an active choice to stop resisting what is. Spiritual traditions often describe darkness as a teacher. In Buddhism, darkness represents ignorance, but it is also the condition from which awakening arises. Without darkness, light cannot be recognized. Surrendering to night with mindfulness allows you to see it not as an obstacle but as part of the path. Dreams themselves become teachers, revealing attachments, fears, and desires that you may not face during the day. To enter darkness willingly is to enter the classroom of the subconscious, where lessons unfold without your control but with great potential for growth. Over time, practicing mindful surrender transforms your relationship with fear. Instead of fighting the night, you see it as a friend. Instead of dreading sleep, you welcome it as a teacher of impermanence. This shift carries into waking life. You begin to meet uncertainty during the day with the same openness. Challenges feel less overwhelming because you have trained in the art of letting go. Surrender at night becomes resilience in life. The effect is cumulative. Each night you practice, the nervous system learns that darkness is safe. Each act of letting go strengthens the mind's trust in impermanence. Each surrender brings deeper rest and clearer mornings. Slowly, the fear of night dissolves, replaced by reverence. You no longer resist darkness but honor it as part of the cycle that sustains life. This reverence itself brings peace, because fear cannot survive in the presence of respect. To live this teaching is to embrace the truth that nothing is permanent. Day fades, night rises, thoughts dissolve, identities shift, bodies age, life itself passes. To resist this truth is to suffer endlessly. To surrender is to find freedom. Night offers the perfect stage for this practice, because it demands surrender whether you choose it or not. By making the choice willingly, you align with reality rather than fighting it. As you lie down tonight, let the darkness be more than absence of light. Let it be a reminder of impermanence, a teacher of surrender, a space where rest arises naturally when resistance ends. Breathe into it, trust it, rest within it. This is mindful surrender, not escape, not defeat, but peace found in the heart of impermanence itself. When you learn to surrender to darkness without fear, another layer of practice begins to unfold. The stillness of night does not only bring rest, it brings visions, stories, and symbols that rise from the depths of the mind. Dreams, though fleeting and often strange, carry a wisdom of their own. From a Buddhist perspective, they are not random, they are teachers that reveal the nature of emptiness, the truth that nothing is fixed, not even the self you cling to so tightly. To meet dreams with awareness is to discover that what feels solid in waking life is just as fluid as the shifting images of sleep. Dreams show you how unstable identity really is. One moment you are yourself, the next you are someone else, or both at once. You may face familiar people who suddenly transform into strangers, or landscapes that shift in an instant without reason. In the dream, you accept these changes without question, moving with them as if they were natural. When you reflect on this upon waking, the lesson becomes clear. The mind can create entire worlds, complete with rules, emotions, and identities, yet none of it has lasting substance. This is what Buddhism means by emptiness. Not that nothing exists, but that nothing has a permanent, unchanging essence. Seeing this in dreams weakens the grip of attachment in waking life. Some Buddhist traditions, especially in Tibet, developed dream yoga, where practitioners learn to recognize the dream state as it happens. The goal is not entertainment, but liberation. By realizing during the dream that it is only a dream, the mind experiences freedom from illusion directly. Even without formal dream yoga, simply reflecting on dreams in the morning reveals attachments and fears. If you dream of losing possessions, perhaps you cling too tightly to security. If you dream of being abandoned, perhaps you crave approval. If you dream of endless running, perhaps you resist stillness. Each dream becomes a mirror of the attachments that shape your waking mind. To purify the way you relate to dreams, begin by setting intention before sleep. Tell yourself gently, "Tonight may I see my dreams clearly." This intention plants a seed. Over time, you start remembering more of your dreams, and you carry a subtle awareness that even while dreaming, you are not completely lost. This practice teaches you to meet illusions with mindfulness. When the mind can see through illusions in sleep, it strengthens the ability to see through illusions in daily life. Illusions of control, permanence, and fixed identity. Writing dreams upon waking is another powerful method. By keeping a record, patterns emerge. You notice recurring themes, symbols, or emotions that show where the mind is most attached. A repeated dream of failing an exam long after school has ended may reveal a lingering fear of judgment. A recurring dream of being chased may uncover resistance to facing difficult truths. These insights are not trivial. They show you where clinging hides. Buddhism teaches that suffering comes from attachment, and dreams offer a nightly map of where attachment lives in your subconscious. Even nightmares serve as teachers. They may shake you, but they reveal fears you have not yet faced in waking life. Meeting them with compassion transforms them into opportunities. Instead of pushing them away, reflect, what is this fear pointing to? What illusion is it exposing? Nightmares are reminders that fear itself is an illusion sustained by clinging. By holding even the characters of your nightmare with compassion, silently wishing them peace, you dissolve their power. Over time, this practice turns even frightening dreams into pathways of growth. Dreams also highlight impermanence in a way waking life often hides. In dreams, entire worlds appear, exist, and vanish within seconds. When you wake, they dissolve completely, leaving no trace but memory. This cycle is a clear reflection of impermanence, the same truth that governs life itself. Relationships, possessions, and even identities arise and fade in the same way dreams do. By reflecting on this, the mind learns not to grasp so tightly. Sleep becomes a nightly teaching of the Dharma, showing in direct experience what texts can only describe. Another teaching dreams offer is the emptiness of I. In dreams, the sense of self shifts constantly. Sometimes you see the world through your own eyes, sometimes you observe yourself from outside, sometimes you become someone else entirely. This instability reveals that the self is not fixed, but constructed moment by moment. Waking life feels more stable, but Buddhism teaches it is no different. What you call I is a collection of sensations, thoughts, and roles, none of which remain the same. Dreams expose this truth directly, loosening the illusion of a permanent self. By learning from dreams, you also practice humility. No matter how much control you think you have, dreams remind you that the mind is vast, often beyond conscious direction. They reveal layers of memory, fear, and desire you did not choose but still live within you. Instead of resisting this, Buddhist practice encourages you to observe with curiosity and compassion. Humility arises when you see that you are not the master of every thought, and peace arises when you stop demanding control over them. To deepen this practice, you can also use mantras before sleep. Repeating sacred syllables or phrases calms the mind and sets a clear tone for the night. These vibrations echo into dreams, creating an atmosphere of clarity. Practitioners have long reported that chanting before bed changes the quality of dreams, making them lighter, more meaningful, and sometimes even lucid. This is not superstition, but the natural effect of directing the mind with intention. What you plant in thought shapes what you reap in dreams. Dream practice also prepares you for greater transitions. Tibetan teachings often compare dreams to the bardo, the state between death and rebirth. Just as in dreams, the mind creates entire realities after death. By training to see dreams as illusions, practitioners prepare to meet death with clarity, recognizing even then that appearances lack inherent solidity. For those not following monastic paths, the lesson still applies. Every night, in sleep, you practice letting go, and every dream teaches you how to meet illusions without fear. There is also a creative aspect. Dreams, once seen clearly, can inspire solutions, insights, and understanding. History holds examples of artists, scientists, and thinkers who found breakthroughs in dreams. From a Buddhist view, this creativity is not magic but the natural expression of a mind freed from its usual constraints. When you meet dreams without clinging, their imagery can become a source of inspiration rather than confusion. Even here, the teaching of emptiness is clear. Nothing is fixed, everything can transform, even fear into creativity. The ultimate lesson dreams offer is that reality itself is not as solid as it appears. Just as you wake from a dream and see it for what it was, Buddhism teaches that awakening from ignorance reveals waking life as another dream, not unreal, but empty of permanence, empty of fixed essence. Dreams are nightly reminders of this truth. When you treat them as teachers, you are constantly being shown the nature of emptiness over and over again, until the lesson becomes part of your very way of seeing. To live this teaching means meeting each night with openness. Set intention, observe with curiosity, reflect without clinging, and meet even nightmares with compassion. Over time, dreams cease to be random or frightening. They become allies, showing you illusions, pointing out attachments, teaching you impermanence, and reminding you of the emptiness of self. Night then becomes not only a time for rest, but a time for awakening, where even in sleep, the Dharma is alive, guiding you toward freedom. Dreams reveal emptiness and show how fragile and shifting the mind's creations can be. But even after learning from them, the heart still seeks something deeper: stillness itself. Beyond images, beyond stories, beyond even thoughts, there is silence. In Buddhist practice, silence is not the absence of sound, but the presence of peace. It is called noble silence because it carries dignity, clarity, and truth. At night, when the world finally begins to quiet, you are offered the rare chance to meet this silence. Yet many resist it, filling the evening with endless noise, as though silence itself were frightening. To embrace silence is to allow peace the space to arise. Silence at night is not simply turning off the television or closing the door. It begins within. Internal silence means softening the endless commentary of the mind, the constant chatter of judgment, memory, and worry. You do not silence the mind by force, but by creating space. Breath awareness, gentle reflection, and compassion all clear the way. Slowly, the noise grows lighter, and silence emerges like a clear sky after a storm. This inner quiet is what allows the body to release its final layers of tension, dropping into rest without resistance. External silence supports internal silence. The Buddha often encouraged retreat into quiet places, forests, caves, simple dwellings, because environment shapes mind. In your own life, creating silence at night can be as simple as dimming lights, turning off devices, and allowing the room to settle. This is not deprivation, it is nourishment. Noise keeps the nervous system alert, while silence signals safety. The absence of external sound becomes an invitation for inner quiet to grow. The power of noble silence lies in its ability to reveal what is usually hidden. When noise falls away, you notice subtler things: the texture of your breath, the tone of your emotions, the rhythm of your thoughts. Silence is a mirror. It reflects the true state of your mind. Sometimes it shows restlessness, sometimes sadness, sometimes calm. Whatever it shows, it is valuable, because it brings honesty. By seeing clearly, you can meet yourself with understanding. Without silence, the deeper layers remain buried beneath distraction. Silence also heals relationships with others. Many conflicts arise because people fear silence in conversation, rushing to fill gaps with words that are often unnecessary. At night, when you practice noble silence, you learn that silence itself can be a form of communication, a presence that says, "I am here, I am at peace. I do not need to demand or resist." This understanding softens your interactions in waking life. The practice of nightly silence becomes a practice of deeper listening during the day. In meditation, noble silence is a discipline, a way of training the mind to settle without clinging to words. Applied at night, it turns rest into a continuation of meditation. The body lies down, the voice quiets, the mind releases. This silence is not empty, it is full of presence. It is alive with awareness, even when no thought or word moves. Entering sleep from this silence brings a depth of rest that ordinary routines cannot reach. The mind does not carry the residue of noise into dreams, but instead drifts into clarity. Silence also teaches impermanence. In the absence of noise, you notice that even silence shifts. It is filled with subtle sounds, the hum of breath, the distant rhythm of life outside, the faint movements of your own body. Silence is not a static void, but a dynamic presence. By observing it, you realize that peace is not fixed but living, always changing yet always here. This awareness makes peace more accessible, because you no longer demand perfection. You rest in silence as it is, allowing it to hold you without expectation. Fear of silence often comes from fear of facing oneself. Many avoid quiet because they fear what they will find: loneliness, regret, unresolved feelings. But silence is not an enemy. When you meet these emotions in silence, you discover they are not as solid as you feared. They arise, move through, and dissolve. Noble silence gives them space to pass without being suppressed. This is why it is noble. It allows truth to surface without interference, and in that truth, healing begins. The body, too, responds to silence. Noise keeps the senses sharp, even when you think you are used to it. Studies show that background noise raises stress levels and disrupts sleep cycles. Silence lowers blood pressure, steadies the heart, and allows the nervous system to reset. This is why monks and practitioners often retreat into silence for days or weeks. It is medicine. You may not need weeks, but a few minutes of intentional silence before sleep can begin the same process of healing. Another dimension of noble silence is humility. Words often carry ego, the need to explain, to justify, to prove. Silence removes this mask. In silence, you are not your titles, your arguments, your roles. You are simply presence. This humility softens the grip of self and creates space for connection with something greater. At night, when you rest in silence, you practice laying down the ego, making sleep not just physical renewal but spiritual release. Silence also holds beauty. Without constant distraction, the simplest sounds become profound: the steady breath, the whisper of wind, the quiet rhythm of life. These details, often ignored, remind you of the richness of existence. Noble silence turns the ordinary into sacred. Night becomes not just the absence of day, but a canvas of subtle presence. To rest in that beauty is to rest in gratitude. Embracing silence is also preparation for death. In Buddhist teaching, the final moments of life are like a great silence. The body drops away, words disappear, the mind meets itself directly. Practicing noble silence at night is rehearsal for this transition. It trains the mind to be comfortable without noise, without distraction, without constant identity. This training reduces fear of endings and brings peace in the face of impermanence. The practice of silence can begin simply. After your evening activities, turn off external sounds and sit for a few breaths in stillness. Allow the mind to settle without needing words. When thoughts arise, do not follow them. Let them pass. Rest in the space between. Carry this silence into lying down, letting the body release without commentary. Over time, this practice becomes natural, and silence itself becomes a source of comfort rather than discomfort. The gift of noble silence is that it creates space for rest, for truth, for healing. It is not a void but a doorway, leading you to the peace that has always been present beneath the noise. When you embrace silence at night, you discover that you do not need constant distraction to feel safe. Peace is already here, waiting in the quiet. By stepping into noble silence, you open the space for true rest, where body, mind, and heart are all held gently in stillness. Silence at night opens the door to a rare kind of peace, but the journey does not end there. Once the heart learns to rest in quiet, a deeper question arises. What is the purpose of this rest? In Buddhist thought, nothing is practiced only for oneself. Every breath, every act of care, every moment of stillness ripples outward to touch others. Rest, when understood in this way, becomes more than personal recovery, it becomes service. This is the essence of bodhisattva rest, sleeping not only to heal your body and mind, but to prepare yourself to meet the world with clarity, kindness, and strength. The bodhisattva path is built on compassion, the vow to dedicate one's life to reducing the suffering of all beings. Yet this vow is not fulfilled by exhaustion or self-neglect. Service without renewal quickly collapses into burnout, resentment, and fragility. To rest as a bodhisattva is to recognize that sleep itself is an offering. By allowing your body and mind to recover, you are preserving the energy needed to act wisely and compassionately when others call upon you. In this way, lying down becomes an act of generosity, not selfishness. Rest as service requires a shift in perspective. Many people treat sleep as wasted time, a necessary pause in productivity. From the Bodhisattva view, rest is sacred preparation. Just as monks treat meals as fuel for practice, rest is the fuel for compassion. When you rise from sleep with clarity, your words are more patient, your actions more skillful, your presence more healing. Every person you encounter benefits from the rest you allowed yourself the night before. This understanding removes guilt from sleep and restores its dignity as part of the path. This perspective also transforms how you approach the act of lying down. Instead of collapsing into bed with exhaustion or resentment, you can frame it as an offering. I rest tonight so that I may meet tomorrow with compassion. This intention softens the heart, reduces restlessness, and aligns the mind with service. It is a way of dedicating even the unconscious hours of sleep to the benefit of others. Just as prayers or chants can be offered, so too can sleep itself. Bodhisattva rest also involves caring for the conditions that support renewal. A body deprived of rest cannot serve effectively, and a mind clouded by fatigue cannot bring wisdom. Caring for your sleep environment, respecting the rhythm of night, and maintaining practices that ease the heart are not indulgences, they are responsibilities. Just as you would sharpen a tool before using it, you care for your own capacity through rest, so that your service is skillful rather than clumsy. This teaching also addresses the modern habit of glorifying exhaustion. Many wear tiredness as a badge of honor, proof of hard work or dedication. From the Bodhisattva perspective, exhaustion is not virtue, it is imbalance. A tired body is more prone to anger, a restless mind more likely to cause harm. True dedication is shown in sustainability, serving in ways that can be continued for a lifetime, not just in bursts of unsustainable effort. Rest, therefore, is not withdrawal but part of the discipline of compassion. There is also an element of humility in resting for others. It acknowledges that you are not limitless. Even the Buddha, after long nights of meditation, lay down to rest. Monks, in their discipline, schedule periods of sleep as part of practice. This humility is itself a teaching. You do not serve the world by pretending to be beyond human needs. You serve by honoring those needs wisely, allowing them to support rather than hinder the path. Dreams, too, take on a new meaning in this light. When rest is framed as service, even the subconscious becomes part of practice. Dreams may reveal attachments, fears, or insights that shape how you serve others. Meeting them with awareness is another form of preparation. Night is no longer passive. It is an active part of the Bodhisattva's journey, where lessons emerge that guide the daylight hours. Rest as service also teaches interdependence. When you rest well, you affect not only yourself but everyone around you. A rested parent shows more patience to their children. A rested worker contributes more clearly to colleagues. A rested leader makes wiser decisions. In this way, the benefit of your sleep spreads far beyond your own well-being. It becomes part of the web of care that sustains communities. To neglect rest is to weaken this web. To honor rest is to strengthen it. The practice extends to how you release guilt about sleep. Many feel they are taking from others when they rest, as if every moment of stillness is stolen from service. The Bodhisattva view reverses this. Every moment of true rest is a gift to others, because it renews the capacity to serve. This shift allows you to meet rest with gratitude rather than shame. Gratitude itself deepens the quality of rest, turning it from escape into offering. There is also a symbolic dimension. In Buddhist teachings, sleep is sometimes described as a small death, a letting go of control, a surrender into the unknown. To approach sleep with bodhisattva intention is to dedicate even this small death to the welfare of others. It is a practice of generosity that transcends waking life, a reminder that every state of being waking, dreaming, or resting can be directed toward compassion. This practice naturally transforms mornings. When you rise, you do not see the day as a burden, but as another chance to serve. The freshness of rest becomes the energy of compassion. Even small acts, listening, offering kindness, working diligently, are infused with the strength that comes from honoring rest as service. Each day begins with the ripple effect of the night before, showing that rest is not separate from action but the root of it. Rest as service also connects with the teaching of non-self. The idea that you rest only for yourself is an illusion. In truth, your actions, moods, and energy affect countless others. By resting, you are indirectly serving them. This dissolves the boundary between self-care and service, showing that both are expressions of the same compassion. In caring for yourself wisely, you care for the world. In caring for the world, you naturally sustain yourself. The two are not separate, but interwoven. Even small, nightly rituals can embody this truth. Offering a thought of goodwill to others before closing your eyes, dedicating your rest to those who suffer, or simply placing gratitude in the heart, these shift sleep from private escape to shared offering. They remind you that rest is not wasted time, but part of the vow to live for others. Bodhisattva rest is not about perfection. There will be nights of restlessness, times when fatigue still lingers. The practice is not measured by flawless sleep, but by intention. Each time you approach rest with the mindset of service, you strengthen the habit. Over time, this habit shapes your entire relationship with sleep. You no longer see it as a weakness or obligation, but as part of the great work of compassion. In this way, rest becomes sacred. Lying down is no longer the end of the day, but the continuation of practice. Sleep becomes part of the bodhisattva vow, a hidden act of service, unseen by others but deeply felt in its effects. And when you rise, the world feels the difference, not because you announce it, but because your clarity, patience, and compassion flow more freely. To live this teaching fully is to see rest as an offering in every sense, to the body, to the mind, to those you love, and to all beings who will cross your path. Each night is a chance to renew this offering. Each morning is the fruit of that gift. Rest then becomes not an interruption of service, but one of its most essential forms. Through bodhisattva rest, even sleep becomes part of the path to liberation, not only for yourself, but for the benefit of all. When rest is seen as service, every moment of sleep becomes part of a larger offering, yet intention alone is not enough. The quality of rest also depends on the condition of the mind as you lie down. The body may collapse into bed, but if the mind is restless, heavy, or scattered, the night will not nourish you fully. Buddhist practice teaches that posture in meditation is not just about the body, it is about the inner state. Even while lying down, you can carry the same principles that guide seated practice. This is what it means to hold the lotus posture of the mind in bed, cultivating balance, stability, and openness within, so that rest is not just physical but deeply mindful. The lotus posture in meditation represents more than folded legs. It is the symbol of equilibrium, rooted yet open, stable yet relaxed. Translating this into the mind means approaching rest with the same qualities. The mind does not cling, does not collapse, does not drift without awareness. Instead, it rests upright in clarity, even while the body reclines. This state transforms lying down from passive collapse into conscious renewal. Sleep approached in this way carries the clarity of practice into the unconscious, shaping dreams and mornings alike. One key principle of the lotus posture is alignment. In sitting meditation, The spine is held straight, neither rigid nor slouched, allowing energy to flow freely. In the mind, alignment means resting thoughts in harmony with truth. Instead of twisting into regrets of the past or anxieties of the future, the mind aligns with the present. You anchor awareness in breath, body, or simple presence, creating mental steadiness. This alignment prevents the mind from scattering into endless loops as you drift toward sleep. It is not about forcing thoughtlessness, but about orienting thoughts toward balance. Another principle is relaxation without collapse. In the lotus position, muscles are engaged just enough to hold stability, yet not so tight as to strain. The same applies to mental posture. A mind too tense, clinging to control, demanding silence, cannot rest. A mind too loose, sinking into dullness or distraction, becomes foggy. The lotus posture of the mind holds awareness gently, like balancing a flame sheltered from the wind. This balance allows the body to release into sleep, while the mind carries the subtle fragrance of clarity. Focus is also part of this posture. In meditation, the gaze may rest softly, the attention steady. In bed, this translates into a chosen point of awareness. It could be the rhythm of breath, the feeling of the body settling, or even a simple phrase of kindness. This focus prevents the mind from being dragged by restless thoughts. Without it, lying down becomes wandering. With it, lying down becomes practice. The mind gently returns to the chosen anchor whenever it drifts, training itself in stability even as consciousness fades. Openness is another quality. In lotus posture, the body opens the chest, symbolizing receptivity. In the mind, openness means not fighting what arises. Thoughts, memories, and sensations may come, but you do not chase or reject them. You allow them to pass like clouds. This openness dissolves resistance, one of the main barriers to sleep. By not resisting, the mind rests naturally, flowing into stillness without struggle. The lotus posture of the mind also involves dignity. Even while lying down, you can hold a sense of inner nobility. This does not mean pride, but presence. You approach rest with respect, seeing it as sacred rather than careless. This dignity prevents sleep from becoming escape. Instead, it becomes renewal. When you treat lying down with the same reverence as sitting in meditation, the mind learns that every state, waking, resting, or dreaming, can be part of the path. Stability is another key. In meditation, stability means the body is unmoving, anchored. In bed, stability of the mind means not being pulled by constant shifts of thought and mood. You cultivate steadiness by returning again and again to presence. This stability creates a foundation. Just as a lotus grows rooted in mud but blossoms above water, the mind rooted in stability blossoms into peace, even in the shifting waters of dreams. Compassion can also be woven into this posture. Just as the lotus is a symbol of purity that rises above the murky water, the mind can rise above self-criticism and harshness. As you lie down, you hold yourself with kindness. Instead of condemning the day's mistakes, you acknowledge them and release them with care. This compassionate posture frees the mind from carrying guilt into sleep. It allows dreams to be shaped by kindness rather than judgment. The lotus posture of the mind also trains continuity. In meditation, the posture supports awareness that continues through the session. In bed, the posture of the mind supports awareness that continues even into sleep. This does not mean remaining awake, but allowing the qualities of stability, clarity, and kindness to infuse the unconscious. This continuity creates dreams that teach rather than disturb, and mornings that open with freshness rather than heaviness. The practice also reshapes the way you relate to the body in bed. Instead of treating the body as a tool to be discarded once it collapses, You remain mindful of its process of releasing. You notice the way muscles soften, the way breath slows, the way warmth spreads. This attention honors the body as part of the path. It also deepens the sense of connection between body and mind, creating harmony that carries into rest. One of the greatest obstacles to rest is the mind's habit of leaning forward, always anticipating tomorrow, planning, rehearsing. The lotus posture of the mind is upright, not leaning. It stays balanced in the present, neither pulled ahead nor falling back. Practicing this at night trains the mind to stop chasing. It learns to rest where it is. This uprightness of mind brings profound calm because it is the opposite of anxiety's endless reaching. Applying meditation posture principles to mental states while lying down also transforms how you respond to interruption. Rest is rarely perfect. There are noises, discomforts, waking in the night. With the lotus posture of the mind, you meet interruptions with steadiness. Instead of reacting with irritation, you return to balance. This response itself is training. Over time, the mind becomes less reactive, not only at night but in daily life. The lotus posture of the mind also reminds you of interconnection. Just as the physical lotus grows in mud but blossoms in beauty, your mind rests in the ordinary conditions of daily life but can bloom into peace. Even in a noisy house or a restless body, the mind can choose its posture. This truth empowers you. You do not need perfect external conditions for rest. You need only to cultivate the qualities within. Ultimately, the lotus posture of the mind is about presence. It is the choice to bring the same mindfulness you practice in meditation into the ordinary act of lying down. It transforms rest into practice, sleep into preparation, and dreams into teachers. When the mind rests in balance, stability, openness, and compassion, every night becomes a continuation of the path. You do not abandon practice when you close your eyes. You carry it into the deepest layers of rest, letting it shape you from within. By approaching bed with the lotus posture of the mind, you make sleep not just unconscious recovery, but conscious practice. You align the mind with truth, hold it with compassion, balance effort with release, and let silence guide you. Over time, this posture becomes natural, a way of being that shapes both night and day. Rest then ceases to be ordinary. It becomes a sacred act where even lying down is an expression of the path to clarity and peace. Carrying the lotus posture of the mind into bed creates balance and steadiness. Yet there is still another layer of practice that clears the heart even more deeply. Stability alone is not enough if the mind continues to cling to the events of the day. What lingers often is not the body's tension, but the weight of memory, unfinished tasks, unresolved emotions, fleeting moments that press against consciousness. Here, the teaching of impermanence becomes medicine. To reflect each night on the truth that everything is temporary loosens the grip of worry and prepares the heart for rest. When you see clearly that nothing endures, even the heaviest burdens soften because you know they too will pass. Impermanence is not simply an abstract idea. It is the most obvious reality, yet the most often ignored. The day you just lived is already gone. The conversations, the laughter, the frustrations all dissolved into memory. To sit with this truth at night allows you to unclench the mind. You no longer carry today as though it will last forever. You recognize that each moment is already fading, and that recognition itself is release. This nightly contemplation reduces clutter because it cuts through the illusion of permanence that fuels anxiety. Reflection on impermanence at night can take many forms. One way is to gently review the day and acknowledge how quickly it passed. Morning became afternoon, afternoon became evening, and now it is gone. By holding this awareness, you stop clinging to what could have been different. The regrets lose weight when seen against the truth that they cannot be changed. Likewise, the joys are savored without grasping. because you know they too have already flowed downstream. This perspective makes the mind lighter, free from both bitterness and obsession. Impermanence also reveals that problems are not as fixed as they appear. The mind often exaggerates difficulties, holding them as if they are eternal. Yet no challenge remains unchanged. Nightly reflection reminds you of this. Whatever burden you carry, it is shifting even now. This knowledge brings relief, not by solving the problem, but by loosening the illusion that it is unmovable. Sleep becomes possible when you release the belief that you must resolve everything tonight. This practice also changes how you see success and failure. Many lie awake replaying mistakes or achievements, fearing judgment or craving validation. Reflection on impermanence dissolves both pride and shame. The praise you receive today will fade. The criticism will too. Neither defines you permanently. Both are temporary winds passing through. Recognizing this truth protects you from being trapped by the highs or crushed by the lows. You rest in the middle, knowing all experiences are fleeting. There is beauty in how impermanence transforms gratitude. When you realize the day is gone, you see its moments as gifts rather than entitlements. The smile of a stranger, the meal you ate, the breath you took, all were temporary, and because of that, precious. Gratitude arises naturally when you see the fragile nature of each experience. By reflecting in this way before bed, the mind turns from grasping to appreciation, softening into peace. Nightly contemplation of impermanence also prepares the mind for dreams. Thoughts carried into sleep often shape the night. If you carry attachment, dreams repeat clinging. If you carry resentment, dreams echo conflict. But when you reflect on impermanence, you release these chains. Dreams then become lighter, often dissolving entirely, leaving only rest. This practice purifies the unconscious by setting down what cannot be held, clearing space for the body and mind to renew. One method of reflection is to repeat a simple phrase such as, "This too will pass." Say it gently, not as dismissal but as recognition. Apply it to the events of the day, to your emotions, even to your own sense of self. You begin to see that nothing, not even your identity, is permanent. This loosens the grip of ego and prepares you for the surrender of sleep, which itself is a small rehearsal of impermanence. Another way is to observe physical changes. Notice how the body shifts from activity to stillness, from tension to relaxation, from wakefulness to sleep. Each state arises and passes naturally. This reflection anchors impermanence in direct experience. You no longer need theory, you see it in the living body. This awareness eases fear because you see that change itself is natural, continuous, and safe. Contemplating impermanence also softens relationships. Many carry the weight of unresolved interactions into the night, words left unsaid, conflicts unresolved. Reflection reveals that every relationship is changing moment by moment. The anger you feel now will not be the same tomorrow. The bond you cherish today will also shift. This truth encourages forgiveness and kindness because you realize that nothing is fixed. Holding on tightly only creates pain. Releasing into impermanence allows peace in the heart. Even if outer situations remain unsettled, the practice also dissolves the illusion of time scarcity. Many lie awake fearing there is not enough time, rushing to complete or control everything. But impermanence shows that life unfolds in moments, each one flowing into the next. You cannot stretch them, you cannot hold them. Seeing this, urgency softens. You rest, knowing that tomorrow brings new moments, just as today once did. Sleep becomes easier when you stop demanding permanence from time itself. There is a deeper spiritual dimension as well. In Buddhism, impermanence is one of the three marks of existence, alongside suffering and non-self. To reflect on it is to align with truth. Nightly contemplation of impermanence is not pessimism, it is liberation. By accepting that all things pass, you loosen the root of suffering, attachment. This acceptance transforms rest into practice. Sleep becomes not only physical recovery, but an expression of wisdom where the mind trains in the deepest truths even as the body lies still. Practical rituals support this reflection. Writing down the day's events and then closing the journal with the thought, "This day is finished," can be powerful. Lighting a candle and blowing it out with gratitude for what has passed is another way. Even something as simple as washing your face with awareness that you are cleansing not only the body but the day itself becomes a reflection of impermanence. These rituals mark the transition, teaching the mind to release. Over time, nightly reflection on impermanence changes the way you live by day. You stop taking moments for granted because you know they are fleeting. You stop holding grudges as tightly because you know emotions shift. You stop fearing loss so deeply because you see that change is the very fabric of life. This does not make you indifferent. It makes you alive. By practicing each night, you train the heart to embrace both joy and sorrow without clinging, resting in a peace that no change can disturb. To lie down with awareness of impermanence is to free yourself from the weight of permanence. You close the day not by carrying it, but by honoring its passing. You let the mind rest in the truth that everything flows. Sleep then becomes not a struggle, but a natural continuation of release. In the morning, you rise lighter, clearer, less burdened by yesterday. This is the gift of nightly reflection on impermanence. A mind unchained, a heart at ease, and a life lived in harmony with the truth that all things pass. Reflecting on impermanence before sleep clears away the heaviness of the day, but there is still a mystery often overlooked: the in-between. The moments just before you drift into sleep and those right after you wake carry a unique stillness. They are neither fully conscious nor entirely unconscious, neither day nor night, neither grasping nor releasing. These thresholds are sacred pauses, doorways where awareness can glimpse truths that are hidden during ordinary states of mind. To honor them is to treat transitions not as empty gaps, but as spiritual opportunities, subtle openings where clarity and peace can take root. The pause before sleep is fragile but powerful. It is the last moment where you can consciously shape the quality of your rest. Thoughts and emotions here seep into the subconscious, coloring dreams and the state in which you awaken. Meeting this pause with care transforms the night. Instead of tumbling into sleep with scattered worries, you can enter with intention, allowing the mind to soften gently into silence. This is not control, it is awareness, a recognition that how you cross the threshold matters. The pause upon waking carries equal importance. Many rush past it, grabbing devices, rushing into routine, forgetting the quiet clarity that arises in those first breaths of the day. Yet in this space, the mind is still free from the full weight of identity and memory. It is open, receptive, and pliable. What you do in these first moments sets the tone for the day. Meeting the morning with gratitude, silence, or a simple breath of awareness can transform how you move through hours ahead. Buddhist teachings often describe these thresholds as fertile grounds for practice. Just as dawn and dusk are revered, time in nature, the transitions between waking and sleeping are revered times in the mind. The ordinary rush to skip past them is like ignoring the most delicate parts of a song. In these moments, awareness can expand without effort. You are neither holding tightly to the world nor fully surrendered to unconsciousness. It is a place of freedom, a doorway into deeper understanding. To honor these pauses, cultivate mindfulness in them. As you lie in bed, notice the shift from wakefulness to drowsiness. Feel the body becoming heavier, the breath slowing, the thoughts dissolving. Instead of resisting or rushing, simply rest in awareness of the process. This presence trains the mind to observe without clinging, a practice that mirrors meditation itself. Over time, you may even notice the exact moment consciousness slips, not as something to control, but as something to witness with reverence. Upon waking, do the same. Before moving, pause. Feel the body as it returns to alertness, the breath deepening, the mind reforming identity. Rest in the freshness of awareness before memory and planning flood in. This pause is a chance to reset patterns. Instead of beginning with stress or distraction, you begin with clarity and calm. Even a few breaths of mindful presence here ripple outward into the rest of the day. These sacred pauses are also doorways into understanding impermanence. Both transitions remind you that states of consciousness are not fixed. Wakefulness dissolves into sleep. Sleep dissolves into wakefulness, just as life itself moves through constant change. By honoring the thresholds, you practice releasing attachment to any one state. You see more clearly that identity, thought, and experience are fluid, arising and passing like waves. This recognition reduces fear and strengthens acceptance. There is also a spiritual dimension to these transitions. Tibetan Buddhism teaches that the moment of death resembles the transition from waking to sleep, and the moment of rebirth resembles the transition from sleep to waking. By practicing awareness in these nightly and daily thresholds, you prepare the mind to meet greater transitions with peace. Each pause becomes rehearsal, building familiarity with the art of letting go and the art of beginning anew. Practical rituals can help anchor this practice. Before sleep, repeat a phrase such as, "May I rest in peace and rise in clarity." Let it be the last imprint on the mind. Upon waking, begin with gratitude. Thank you for another day to live wisely. These simple phrases shape the mind's entry and exit, infusing both sleep and waking with intention. They are not rigid formulas, but gentle reminders that the transitions are sacred, worth attention and care. The body too benefits from honoring these pauses. Entering sleep with calm reduces tension in muscles, steadies the heartbeat, and supports deeper rest. Waking slowly allows the nervous system to shift smoothly from rest to activity, reducing stress and increasing resilience. By respecting the thresholds, you align with the natural rhythms of the body rather than forcing abrupt change. Silence is an ally here. Meeting both pauses without rushing into sound or distraction allows their depth to reveal itself. The mind, not bombarded by input, can settle more fully. Even a minute of silence before sleep and after waking creates space for peace to enter. This space is not wasted, it is where awareness expands. These pauses also offer opportunities for compassion. Before sleep, extend loving kindness to yourself and others, carrying goodwill into the night. Upon waking, extend the same to the day ahead. Compassion held in these moments lingers, shaping both dreams and waking actions. By linking compassion to the thresholds, you weave kindness into the very rhythm of your existence. Over time, the practice of honoring these pauses transforms your relationship with both night and day. Sleep becomes not just unconscious recovery, but sacred descent into rest. Waking becomes not just a return to tasks, but a renewal of purpose. Each transition becomes meaningful, teaching you that life is not only in the grand events, but in the subtle passages between them. To live this way is to see thresholds as more than gaps. They are doorways quiet, often unnoticed, yet full of possibility. When you step through them with awareness, you carry peace from night into day and from day into night. Rest becomes deeper, mornings brighter, and life itself more harmonious. The sacred pauses are gifts, waiting each night and each dawn, ready to teach you the art of presence if only you are willing to notice them. Honoring the sacred pauses between waking and sleeping teaches you to approach transitions with reverence. Yet even these moments of stillness can be unsettled if the mind carries hidden weight. What often keeps people restless is not the body or the breath, but the quiet undercurrent of dissatisfaction, the feeling that something is missing, unfinished, or wrong. To dissolve this unease, another practice arises: gratitude. When gratitude becomes the pillow for the mind, tension softens, worries fade, and rest is no longer forced but welcomed. Gratitude is not just pleasant sentiment. It is a deep recognition of the gifts already present, a shift in perception that changes the quality of sleep and the clarity of waking. Buddhist teachings place gratitude at the heart of practice. Gratitude is not dependent on abundance or perfect circumstances. It grows from awareness of interdependence. You breathe because trees give oxygen. You eat because countless beings work to plant, harvest, and prepare food. You rest because others maintain the world around you. To reflect on these truths before bed is to see that life, even with its struggles, is woven with gifts. This recognition reduces the grasping mind that always demands more, replacing it with contentment. Contentment is the soil where deep rest grows. Gratitude at night works directly on the nervous system. Anxiety tightens the body, narrows focus, and prepares for fight or flight. Gratitude expands attention, opens the heart, and signals safety. Neuroscience shows that grateful reflection lowers stress hormones and activates brain regions linked to joy and resilience. But beyond the science, there is a simple truth. When you rest in appreciation, the heart feels lighter. Sleep entered with gratitude is not an escape, but a continuation of peace. The practice can be very simple. Before lying down, recall 3 things from the day for which you are grateful. They need not be extraordinary. A kind word, a meal, a moment of laughter, all are worthy. By turning the mind toward these small treasures, you train it to see abundance instead of lack. Over time, this habit shifts the default setting of the mind. Instead of scanning for problems, it begins to scan for blessings. Restlessness fades, replaced by quiet satisfaction. Gratitude also loosens resentment. Many carry into the night grudges against others or disappointments with themselves. These unhealed emotions harden the heart and disturb rest. Gratitude does not deny difficulties, but it reframes them. You may reflect, even in conflict, there was something to learn. Even in failure, there was growth. This shift does not excuse harm, but prevents the mind from being poisoned by it. Gratitude transforms bitterness into perspective, making it possible to rest without the weight of anger. Another dimension of gratitude is its connection to impermanence. When you recognize that everything is fleeting, appreciation arises naturally. The meal you enjoyed will never come again in the same way. The conversation you had will not be repeated exactly. Each moment is unique, unrepeatable, and because of that, precious. By reflecting on this truth before sleep, you train the mind to let go of clinging. You savor what was given without demanding it remain. This balance of appreciation and release is the perfect posture for rest. Gratitude can also be extended beyond personal experiences. Reflect on the broader conditions that sustain your life. The earth beneath you, the water you drink, the air you breathe. Reflect on teachers who shared wisdom, even if you never met them. Reflect on countless beings who contribute to the web of life. This widening of gratitude expands the heart. Instead of sleeping with a narrow focus on personal struggles, you rest in connection with a vast network of support. This expansive view reduces isolation and brings comfort in the night. In Buddhist practice, gratitude is often cultivated through chanting or reflection on the 4 requisites: food, clothing, shelter, and medicine. Monks remind themselves daily that these essentials are sustained by the generosity of others. Lay practitioners can do the same. Before sleep, acknowledge the bed that holds you, the roof that covers you, the food that nourished you, the medicine that healed you. Each acknowledgement is a release of entitlement and a step into humility. This humility itself calms the mind, allowing sleep to come naturally. Gratitude also prepares the subconscious. Dreams are shaped by the emotional tone you carry into sleep. A grateful mind creates dreams of harmony, of resolution, of beauty. Even if dreams are not remembered, their influence lingers in the body and mood upon waking. Sleep, infused with gratitude, restores not just energy, but outlook. Morning begins lighter, less burdened, because the heart rehearsed joy in the night. Practical tools can anchor this practice. A gratitude journal by the bedside invites you to write a few lines each night. Reading them later reminds you of abundance even during hard times. Another method is verbal expression, speaking softly, "Thank you for this day," before closing your eyes. Even placing a hand on the heart while recalling one blessing creates a physical link to gratitude. These practices are small, but their impact grows with repetition. Gratitude also reshapes how you view rest itself. Instead of resenting the need to sleep, you can feel thankful for the chance to renew. Sleep becomes not an interruption, but a gift. Gratitude for rest deepens the willingness to surrender into it. This shift changes the whole experience of lying down, removing the resistance that often blocks sleep. There is also a profound ethical dimension. Gratitude reduces selfishness. When you see how much of your life is supported by others, arrogance softens, entitlement dissolves. This humility naturally leads to compassion. By ending the day in gratitude, you begin the next day inclined toward generosity. The cycle continues. Gratitude fuels compassion. Compassion fuels gratitude. Sleep becomes the bridge where this cycle strengthens. Over time, nightly gratitude practice rewires the entire orientation of the mind. Instead of focusing on what is missing, it learns to recognize what is present. This recognition reduces restlessness because longing is replaced by contentment. It reduces fear because trust in life grows. It reduces anger because appreciation makes space for forgiveness. Each night of gratitude shapes a mind that not only rests, but lives with more peace. To rest with gratitude is to see life clearly. The day may not have been perfect, but it was filled with moments that carried beauty, lessons, or kindness. By recognizing them, you close the day in harmony. The heart softens, the body releases, and sleep arises naturally. Gratitude is the pillow for the mind, not made of feathers or fabric, but of awareness that life, even in its imperfection, is a gift worth resting upon. Gratitude softens the mind and creates the perfect ground for rest. But even gratitude cannot fully protect the heart if the seeds planted during the day are toxic. What you consume through food, media, and conversations does not vanish when the moment ends. It lingers, shaping the mood of your night, coloring your dreams, and influencing the clarity of your mind upon waking. This is why Buddhist practice emphasizes mindful consumption, to guard not only what enters through the mouth, but also what enters through the eyes, ears, and heart. If you wish for serenity at night and clear dreams that heal rather than disturb, you must attend to what you take in during the day. Consumption is not limited to food. Every conversation, every story, every piece of music, every image absorbed through a screen becomes part of the mind's storehouse. The subconscious does not distinguish between entertainment and reality. It records impressions and replays them in dreams. Violent media often appears as restless or frightening dreams. Angry conversations re-emerge as tension in the night. Nourishing words and peaceful sounds, in contrast, create dreams of harmony. What you feed the mind is as important as what you feed the body, because both determine the quality of rest. Buddhism offers the teaching of sense restraint, which is not suppression but protection. Guarding the senses means choosing wisely what you allow in. At night, especially, this is critical. The last inputs before sleep often echo in the subconscious. If your final act is scrolling through distressing news or divisive arguments, do not be surprised if the night carries agitation. If instead your final act is reading something uplifting, listening to calm sounds, or sitting in silence, the night tends to reflect that peace. The mind is like a mirror, it shows what it was last shown. Food also plays a role. Heavy, spicy, or excessive eating before bed burdens the body, keeping it busy with digestion instead of restoration. The Buddha advised moderation in eating, noting that a body overloaded with food creates dullness in both waking and sleeping states. Lighter, balanced meals in the evening support clarity, while overeating clouds the mind. Modern science confirms this. Digestive discomfort and unstable blood sugar disrupt sleep cycles. Mindful eating, especially in the hours before bed, is therefore part of mindful consumption for clear dreams. Conversations, too, leave deep imprints. Words spoken in anger or gossip linger long after the exchange is over. The subconscious replays them, sometimes as restless dreams, sometimes as heaviness upon waking. Before bed, it is wise to avoid entangling discussions that stir the mind. Instead, choose conversations that bring warmth, laughter, or kindness. The tone of your last interactions often sets the tone for your night. In Buddhist practice, right speech is not only about avoiding harm in the moment, but about planting seeds of peace for the future, including your own sleep. Music and sound are subtle but powerful forms of consumption. Rhythms and tones affect the nervous system directly. Calming sounds slow the breath and heartbeat, preparing the body for rest. Harsh or agitated sounds stimulate adrenaline, even if unnoticed. The choice of what you listen to in the evening shapes the texture of your dreams. Sacred chants, gentle melodies, or natural sounds create serenity. Aggressive or chaotic sounds bring unrest. Just as food nourishes or harms the body, sound nourishes or unsettles the mind. The practice of mindful consumption extends to technology. Constant exposure to screens, especially at night, floods the eyes with artificial light that confuses the body's natural rhythm. Beyond light, the endless flow of information overloads the mind. Instead of winding down, the mind becomes overstimulated, struggling to process. By setting boundaries, turning off screens earlier, choosing what to watch carefully, limiting unnecessary input, you protect the clarity of your dreams. This is not deprivation but care. You choose not to drown the mind in noise, but to offer it space for peace. Mindful consumption also teaches restraint in mental diet. The mind feeds not only on what is external, but also on what it repeats internally. Replaying arguments, rehearsing fears, or fantasizing excessively are forms of consumption. They feed the mind with restlessness. Practicing mindfulness interrupts this cycle. By returning to breath or gratitude, you stop feeding agitation and begin feeding calm. This internal discipline is as important as external restraint. There is an ethical dimension as well. What you consume is not neutral. It influences how you act toward others. A mind filled with violent images is more prone to harshness. A mind filled with kindness is more prone to compassion. By consuming wisely, you are not only protecting your sleep but also shaping your character. The Buddha's teaching of right livelihood extends to right consumption. What you take in supports or hinders your path. Dreams become a reflection of this ethical diet. Practical steps can make this teaching tangible. Choose evening meals that are nourishing but not heavy. Create a buffer before bed free from screens or upsetting content. End conversations with kindness rather than conflict. Replace harsh sounds with silence or gentle music. Spend a few minutes reflecting on what you took in during the day and whether it brought peace or disturbance. These small acts accumulate, reshaping both sleep and waking life. Mindful consumption also cultivates freedom. Without awareness, you become a prisoner of habit, constantly taking in whatever is offered: endless media, unhealthy food, draining conversations. With mindfulness, you choose. You are no longer pulled by impulse but guided by wisdom. This freedom brings serenity because you know that you are planting seeds consciously. At night, the dreams that arise are not accidents but the natural fruit of choices made with care. Over time, this practice deepens clarity. Sleep becomes lighter, dreams less chaotic, mornings brighter. The mind, no longer clouded by toxic input, rests in its natural state of peace. You see more clearly how everything you consume shapes not only your night but your entire life. Mindful consumption is therefore not a restriction but a liberation. It aligns your daily choices with your deepest wish to live and rest with serenity. To rest with clear dreams, you must feed the mind and body with clarity. Every word, every bite, every sound, every image becomes part of this diet. When chosen with mindfulness, they create the conditions for peace. When chosen carelessly, they create agitation. The teaching is simple but profound. You become what you consume. By taking care with what enters, you take care of what unfolds within. And when night falls, you find not chaos but calm, not confusion but clarity, resting in the serenity you have cultivated through mindful choice. Mindful consumption clears the ground for serenity, but even with careful choices, there are nights when sleep does not come. The body may be still, yet the mind refuses to quiet. Many treat these hours as punishment, lying in frustration, counting minutes, wishing for escape. But Buddhism teaches that every state of being carries potential for practice. Even sleeplessness can be a teacher. When reframed with awareness, insomnia becomes a night path, an invitation to deepen mindfulness rather than a problem to be solved. The first shift is to release resistance. Much of the suffering of insomnia is not the wakefulness itself, but the anger and fear that accompany it. I will be exhausted tomorrow. Why can't I sleep like others? These thoughts tighten the body and agitate the mind further. Instead of resisting, practice acceptance. I am awake, and this is my practice now. This softening reduces tension. The body may still be restless, but the heart is calmer. The simple act of dropping judgment transforms insomnia from enemy to opportunity. Wakefulness at night creates a rare silence. The world is quiet, distractions are minimal, and the usual demands of the day are absent. This silence, though often unwanted, is fertile ground for mindfulness. Use it to observe the breath, the sensations in the body, or the flow of thoughts without clinging. The absence of external noise allows you to hear the subtler layers of mind. Insomnia becomes not wasted time but meditation time, where awareness deepens naturally. Insomnia also teaches impermanence. Even the longest night eventually ends. Rest may not arrive when desired, but fatigue will pass, and the next night will bring another chance. Observing this truth reduces panic. You see that sleeplessness is not permanent, just as no state is permanent. Instead of clinging to the demand for immediate sleep, you practice patience, trusting in change. This shift from panic to patience eases the mind, sometimes even leading to sleep without effort. The night path also reveals attachment. Often sleeplessness arises because the mind clings to worries, unfinished work, or imagined futures. By observing what thoughts repeat during insomnia, you learn what the mind holds most tightly. These insights are valuable. They show you where attachments remain hidden during the busyness of day. By meeting them at night with awareness, you begin to loosen their grip. The wakeful hours become teachers, pointing directly to the roots of suffering. Compassion can also be cultivated in insomnia. Many feel isolated in wakefulness, as if they alone are struggling while the world rests. But countless others lie awake in that same hour: parents tending to children, workers on night shifts, people suffering illness or grief. By extending compassion to them silently, may they find peace, may they rest. You transform loneliness into connection. This practice of metta shifts the mind from self-pity to generosity, easing restlessness. The body itself can be included in this practice. Instead of fighting wakefulness, use the time to scan the body with mindfulness, relaxing each part gently. This is not a trick to force sleep, but an act of care. Even if sleep does not come, the body still receives restoration through relaxation. Over time, this practice teaches that rest is more than sleep. It is also the release of tension and the cultivation of ease in the body. Insomnia also reveals the illusion of control. Sleep cannot be commanded. The harder you chase it, the further it runs. This truth mirrors many aspects of life where grasping only increases suffering. By sitting with wakefulness, you learn surrender. You see clearly that control has limits, and peace comes not from force, but from letting go. This lesson, learned in the middle of the night, becomes wisdom you carry into daily life. Another dimension of the night path is creativity. The mind, unbound by routine, sometimes opens in unexpected ways during sleeplessness. Insights, ideas, or clarity about life's questions may arise. Instead of dismissing them, note them gently, perhaps writing them down, then return to stillness. This openness transforms insomnia into a space for discovery. The very hours once feared become a wellspring of insight. Buddhism also teaches that mindfulness does not require ideal conditions. Many wait for silence, comfort, or peace to practice. Insomnia challenges this. It demands mindfulness in discomfort, in agitation, in longing. By practicing here, you strengthen resilience. If you can meet wakefulness at 3 a.m. with calm awareness, you can meet the challenges of the day with the same presence. The night path is training in endurance and patience, qualities essential for liberation. There is also a profound connection between insomnia and compassion for yourself. The instinct is often to scold. Why can't I sleep? What's wrong with me? This self-criticism deepens suffering. Instead, treat yourself with the same kindness you would offer a child unable to rest. Place a hand on your heart. Breathe softly and say, "It's okay to be awake. You are safe." This gentle acceptance reduces fear and allows the heart to soften. Even without sleep, the body rests in compassion. Insomnia also invites reflection on mortality. Each night of wakefulness is a reminder that control over body and mind is limited. This can be frightening, but it can also be liberating. By facing this truth, you stop demanding perfection from life. You learn to meet uncertainty with openness. The sleepless night becomes a teacher of impermanence and death, not to create despair, but to deepen gratitude for each moment of rest when it does come. Practical steps can support this reframing. Keep the room dim and calm, but do not force sleep. If thoughts race, watch them as clouds passing. If restlessness rises, shift attention to breath or sensations in the hands and feet. If despair appears, practice compassion phrases. May I be at ease, may I find rest. These practices do not guarantee sleep, but guarantee peace, even in wakefulness. And sometimes, paradoxically, when you stop demanding sleep, it arrives on its own. Over time, walking the night path changes your relationship with insomnia. Fear is replaced with curiosity, resistance with acceptance, loneliness with compassion. You stop measuring nights by hours of sleep and start seeing them as opportunities for practice. Some nights you rest deeply, others you stay awake, but both become part of the path. In this way, insomnia ceases to be an enemy. It becomes a teacher, guiding you toward patience, compassion, and wisdom. To live this way is to see wakefulness not as failure but as practice. The night, whether filled with sleep or silence, is still sacred. Every moment carries the potential for awareness. By reframing insomnia in this way, you transform suffering into training, disturbance into mindfulness, and sleepless nights into steps on the path of awakening. Walking the night path of insomnia reveals that even wakefulness can be a teacher, but there is another lesson waiting beneath both sleeplessness and deep rest. Each night, whether you fall asleep easily or struggle for hours, the same truth unfolds. Sleep is a rehearsal for letting go. The body surrenders its grip, the mind dissolves its identity, and consciousness slips into a state where the usual sense of self no longer operates. Buddhism calls this release a small death, and to practice it mindfully is to prepare for the great transition that awaits every living being. In this way, sleep becomes not just recovery, but a daily practice of death and rebirth. Ego clings to continuity. It insists, I am this person, with this name, these responsibilities, these possessions. Yet when you sleep, that entire structure dissolves. The mind no longer calls itself by name, no longer insists on status or role. Even memory and control fade. What you consider self is temporarily gone. Each morning, the mind rebuilds the identity as if reborn. Seeing this cycle with awareness loosens attachment to ego. You realize that what you call I is not permanent but a pattern that appears and disappears with consciousness. This perspective transforms the way you approach sleep. Instead of treating it as mere fatigue, you recognize it as a chance to practice letting go of self. The surrender of sleep mirrors the final surrender of life. To lie down mindfully is to rehearse death with peace, training the mind not to fear dissolution, but to embrace it. Each night becomes an offering. I release myself now, and I will return when morning calls. This gentle practice reduces fear, not only of sleep, but of impermanence itself. Dreams highlight this teaching further. In dreams, identity is fluid. You may take on different roles, see yourself from outside, or shift between characters without resistance. The self that felt so solid in waking life bends easily in the dream world. This reveals the emptiness of fixed identity. What you take to be unshakable I is shown to be a construct, flexible and impermanent. When you reflect on this upon waking, ego's hold loosens. You learn to wear identity more lightly, knowing it is a role, not a permanent truth. Nightly release of ego also teaches humility. Many cling to achievements, possessions, or recognition during the day. Yet at night, none of these remain. Wealth, titles, and influence dissolve in the same way for all. Sleep is a great equalizer, reminding you that beneath all roles, you are simply a being who rests. To reflect on this, each night humbles the heart, softening pride and opening space for compassion. This practice is not abstract, it can be cultivated with intention. As you prepare for sleep, acknowledge the roles you played that day, worker, parent, friend, partner, and consciously set them down. Say silently, "For tonight, I release these roles." With each release, feel the ego's grip loosening. You are not abandoning responsibility. You are recognizing that the self can rest from carrying them. This nightly ritual of release prepares you to live with less attachment and to face greater releases when life demands them. The body itself participates in this small death. Muscles relax, senses withdraw, awareness fades. You cannot force this process. It happens only when control is surrendered. In this way, the body teaches what the mind resists, that letting go is necessary for renewal. Each morning, the body rises refreshed because it allowed itself to dissolve into rest. Likewise, the mind rises clearer when it stops clinging to ego through the night. This cycle mirrors the greater journey of death and rebirth taught in Buddhism. Just as you release self each night and reconstruct it in the morning, life itself ends with the dissolution of ego and continues in new form. To practice release in sleep is to become familiar with this rhythm. Fear of death lessens because you experience its echo daily. Instead of treating sleep as unconscious oblivion, you see it as training in impermanence, making the great transition less foreign when it arrives. Releasing ego in sleep also dissolves anxiety. Much of nightly restlessness comes from clinging, worrying about tomorrow, replaying identity-based fears, or grasping at control. By consciously loosening ego, you remove the root of this tension. The mind no longer needs to prove itself, defend itself, or maintain its image. Rest becomes natural when self is set down. This is why monks often practice mindfulness of death before sleep, reminding themselves that clinging is unnecessary in the face of impermanence. Compassion grows from this practice as well. When you see that ego dissolves nightly, you stop treating others as fixed selves too. You recognize that just as your identity is impermanent, so are theirs. This reduces judgment and opens understanding. Sleep becomes not only personal release, but a nightly reminder of shared humanity. Each being, no matter how different by day, releases self by night. This common ground creates connection, dissolving barriers of pride and separation. Practical reflections can deepen the experience. Before closing your eyes, you might recall, "Today has ended. This self has ended. I rest in release." In the morning, acknowledge, a new day begins. A new self begins. This conscious recognition transforms ordinary routines into profound spiritual practice. Each day becomes a cycle of small death and small rebirth, teaching you to live lightly, with less fear and more gratitude. The practice also reduces attachment to possessions and achievements. You cannot take them into sleep, just as you cannot take them into death. Seeing this nightly helps you release the illusion that these define your worth. You begin to value presence, kindness, and clarity over accumulation. The ego, fed by grasping, weakens and the heart grows freer. Releasing ego in sleep also supports deeper meditation. The ability to let go of identity at night strengthens the ability to release clinging during the day. Both practices reinforce each other. Meditation trains you to release self while awake. Sleep trains you to release self without effort. Together, they create continuity of practice, dissolving ego's hold over time. Over months and years, this nightly practice reshapes your relationship with impermanence. Death is no longer abstract or terrifying, it is familiar. Each night you die a little, and each morning you are reborn. This rhythm becomes natural, reducing fear and increasing peace. Instead of resisting impermanence, you live in harmony with it. To release ego in sleep is to use what life already gives as practice. You do not need special conditions or advanced training. Every night offers the same invitation: let go. By answering it with awareness, you transform sleep from unconscious necessity into conscious training. You rest not only the body and mind, but also the illusion of self. And when morning comes, you rise with a lighter heart, ready to meet life with less clinging and more freedom. Releasing the ego in sleep reveals how every night is a rehearsal for impermanence. But even as the self dissolves, the subconscious continues its quiet work. The deeper layers of the mind hold impressions from the day, often resurfacing as restless dreams or heavy emotions. Left unchecked, they shape not only the night, but also the tone of the morning. Buddhism offers a powerful method to influence this inner landscape. Chanting. Mantras and sacred phrases are not just sounds, they are vibrations that align thought, body, and heart. When practiced before rest, chanting imprints peace on the subconscious, allowing the night to become a sanctuary of calm rather than a battlefield of unresolved energy. Chanting works on multiple levels. At its simplest, the rhythm of repeated syllables steadies the breath, calming the nervous system. The body begins to sync with the cadence, releasing tension and slowing into rest. At a deeper level, the meaning of the words, often prayers of compassion, refuge, or awakening, plants seeds in the subconscious. These seeds grow through the night, shaping dreams with harmony and mornings with clarity. Beyond words, even the sound itself carries power. Vibrations travel through the body, soothing nerves, massaging tension, and creating resonance that quiets the restless mind. Different traditions use chanting in unique ways, but the principle remains the same. Sound reshapes inner states. Repeating Om Mani Padme Hum, for instance, is said to invoke compassion. The repetition focuses attention, purifies thought, and aligns the heart with the quality of mercy. For rest, this is profound anger and agitation dissolve into softness, creating conditions for peaceful sleep. Other chants, like taking refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, remind the mind of safety and guidance, easing fears that often arise in darkness. Chanting before sleep also trains continuity of awareness. The mind often drifts into unconsciousness chaotically, scattered by random thoughts. By repeating a mantra until rest arrives, you bridge waking and sleep with mindfulness. The last impression the subconscious receives is not worry or distraction, but sacred sound. This continuity shapes the night. Even if you do not remain conscious of the mantra, its echo lingers, carrying the vibration of peace into dreams. The practice also helps with emotional purification. During the day, unresolved emotions accumulate: resentment, longing, regret. Chanting transforms these emotions without suppressing them. The rhythm gives the mind structure, preventing it from being overwhelmed. The sacred meaning elevates perspective, reminding you of truths beyond personal struggle. Together, they cleanse the heart. Sleep that follows chanting is lighter because the emotional weight has been loosened. Science supports this ancient wisdom. Research shows that repetitive vocalization, whether through chanting, prayer, or humming, activates the vagus nerve, which regulates relaxation. Brain imaging reveals that chanting quiets activity in the default mode network, the part of the brain responsible for self-centered rumination. Physiological changes, lower heart rate, deeper breathing, mirror the calm that practitioners have described for centuries. But beyond measurable effects, chanting connects you with something beyond the individual self, a resonance with collective tradition and timeless truth. There are many ways to bring chanting into nightly practice. Some prefer spoken repetition, softly reciting until the body naturally drifts to sleep. Others use silent repetition in the mind, especially if sharing a space with others. Chanting can be done with beads, marking each repetition as a tactile support, or simply with breath, letting each inhale and exhale carry the sound internally. Even short sessions of 5 or 10 minutes can leave a strong imprint on the subconscious. The choice of mantra depends on intention. For compassion, Om Mani Padme Hum is central. For peace, Om Shanti is simple yet powerful. For refuge, Buddham Saranam Gacchami reaffirms safety in the path. Even repeating words of gratitude or loving kindness can serve as mantra. What matters is sincerity and consistency. Over time, the mantra becomes familiar, almost second nature. The subconscious begins to repeat it, even without conscious effort, carrying its vibration throughout the night. Chanting also shifts how you view sleep itself. Instead of seeing it as a passive fall into unconsciousness, chanting frames it as a sacred transition. The act of repeating sacred sound marks the closing of the day with reverence. Just as monks chant before meals to sanctify food, chanting before sleep sanctifies rest. The night becomes part of practice, not separate from it. This reverence changes your relationship with rest, making it not only recovery but spiritual alignment. Another gift of chanting is that it dissolves fear of darkness. Many people experience anxiety at night when silence magnifies uncertainty. Chanting fills this silence with meaning. The vibration becomes a companion, a reminder that you are not alone. The sound links you to countless practitioners across centuries who have chanted the same syllables. In this way, chanting creates community even in solitude. The subconscious rests more easily when it feels held, and chanting provides that holding. Chanting also refines speech. Words spoken throughout the day may be careless, harsh, or rushed. By ending the day with sacred words, you balance this tendency. You remind the subconscious of the power of speech to heal rather than harm. Over time, this practice influences waking life. Speech becomes gentler, more mindful, because the mind has been trained nightly in the vibration of wholesome sound. Dreams, too, reflect this refinement, becoming less entangled in conflict and more aligned with harmony. Practical integration of chanting is flexible. You may choose to chant while sitting before lying down, or you may lie down and let the repetition carry you into sleep. You may combine chanting with breath, allowing each syllable to ride the inhale and exhale. You may also listen to recordings, letting sound bathe the mind as you rest. The form is less important than the sincerity. What matters is that the subconscious receives the imprint of sacred sound, replacing the day's noise with resonance of peace. The cumulative effect of chanting before rest is profound. Nights become calmer, dreams clearer, mornings lighter. The subconscious, trained in peace, carries less agitation into waking life. Over time, the practice dissolves deep patterns of fear, anger, and attachment. What begins as a tool for sleep becomes a tool for transformation. The mantra is no longer just sound. It is the rhythm of alignment between body, mind, and heart. To practice chanting before rest is to offer the subconscious a gift. Instead of feeding it with worry or distraction, you feed it with harmony. The sound becomes a bridge between waking and sleep, between conscious and unconscious, between self and the vast expanse of life. Each night, you lay down not just on a bed but on the resonance of peace you have created. And when morning comes, you rise already aligned, already centered, already carried by the echo of sacred sound. Chanting before rest plants seeds of peace in the subconscious, carrying you through the night with harmony, but the practice does not end when sleep concludes. The way you rise from rest determines how those seeds unfold into the new day. In Buddhist tradition, the act of waking is treated with the same mindfulness as lying down. The sound of a morning bell, whether an actual chime or the simple awareness of awakening, is not just a signal to begin the day, it is a call to presence. To rise with clarity is to honor the gift of another day, to step from the silence of night into the light of morning with awareness rather than distraction. The first moments after waking are often wasted in rushing. Many people reach for devices, fill the mind with noise, or leap immediately into tasks. This abruptness scatters the mind, leaving it unsettled for hours. The Buddhist approach is the opposite. It treats waking as sacred transition, a continuation of practice. The sound that greets the morning, whether a bell in a monastery or the soft chime of an alarm becomes a reminder to pause, breathe, and recognize presence. It is not about rushing into the day, but about grounding in clarity before stepping forward. The morning bell symbolizes mindfulness. In monasteries, its tone calls practitioners to rise not with irritation, but with gratitude and awareness. The sound is met with breath, a moment of reflection. I am alive. I have another day to practice. Even outside the monastery, you can cultivate this same spirit. The alarm on your phone can be reframed not as an interruption, but as a bell of awakening. The difference is not in the sound, but in how you meet it with resistance or with presence. Awakening with clarity begins with breath. Before moving, notice the inhale and exhale. The body transitions naturally from the rhythm of sleep into the rhythm of waking. This small pause aligns mind and body, preventing the disconnection that rushing creates. The breath also anchors awareness, stopping the mind from racing into tasks and responsibilities. By beginning with breath, you start the day in the present rather than in imagined futures. Gratitude follows naturally. Reflecting in those first moments on the simple fact of being alive transforms the tone of the day. The Buddha taught that human life is rare and precious, an opportunity to practice compassion and wisdom. To acknowledge this upon waking fills the heart with appreciation. Gratitude dissolves the heaviness of fatigue, replacing it with openness. Even when challenges await, the recognition of life's gift softens resistance. Rising with presence also means caring for the body gently. Instead of jolting up, you can move slowly, noticing sensations as muscles stretch, as the body shifts from stillness into activity. This attentiveness prevents injury, supports circulation, and honors the body as a partner in practice. In monasteries, monks often bow upon rising, a gesture of respect to the body, to life, and to the path itself. You can adopt your own gestures, placing hands together briefly, or simply sitting in stillness before standing. These acts remind you that waking is not automatic but sacred. Sound continues to guide practice beyond the first bell. Throughout the day, bells are used in Buddhist communities to call practitioners back to awareness. Each sound becomes an invitation to return to the present moment. By beginning the day with the same spirit, you set the tone for meeting sounds not as interruptions but as reminders. The morning bell is the first note in this symphony of mindfulness. Awakening with clarity also affects the mind's patterns. Neuroscience shows that the brain is especially malleable in the first moments after waking. What you focus on here imprints strongly. If you begin with anxiety, the brain carries that tone forward. If you begin with presence and gratitude, the brain builds calm as the foundation. This is why Buddhist practice emphasizes intention upon waking. The morning bell is a cue not only to rise, but to set the direction of the mind for the day. Practical rituals support this intention. You might recite a short reflection such as, "I wake to serve with compassion," or "May this day be used wisely." You might drink water slowly, treating it as a ritual of renewal. You might take a few steps in silence, anchoring awareness in movement. These acts may seem small, but they transform waking from automatic habit into conscious choice. Each becomes a seed planted at dawn, shaping the unfolding of the day. The morning bell also teaches impermanence. Each day is new, never to return. The person who wakes is not the same as the one who went to bed. Cells have changed, thoughts have shifted, time has passed. To recognize this is to see that each morning is a rebirth. You are offered another chance to live with clarity, to speak with kindness, to act with wisdom. Meeting this truth at waking reduces regret and fuels purpose. You stop sleepwalking through mornings and begin living them with awareness. Silence in the first moments after waking is another essential practice. Before speech, before screens, allow space. This silence protects the clarity gained through sleep. It prevents the mind from scattering into noise. In Buddhist monasteries, mornings are often kept quiet for this reason. Even in modern life, you can preserve a small pocket of silence before rushing into interaction. This silence becomes a continuation of noble silence at night, carrying peace into the new day. Awakening to the morning bell is also about compassion. When you wake with presence, you rise not only for yourself but for others. The clarity you carry into the day shapes your interactions. A mind that began with irritation spreads unrest. A mind that began with peace spreads calm. By treating waking as practice, you ensure that what you bring to the world is beneficial. Rising becomes service, another step in the bodhisattva path of living for the welfare of all beings. The practice also reshapes how you see time. Instead of rushing, you learn to meet each moment as complete. The first minutes of the day are no longer obstacles to be hurried through, but opportunities to ground in awareness. This change ripples forward. If you begin slowly and mindfully, you are more likely to carry that rhythm into later hours. The morning bell is the anchor, keeping you steady in the current of the day. Over time, treating waking as sacred transforms your relationship with mornings entirely. No longer a struggle against fatigue or an irritation against alarms. Mornings become renewal. Each rising is a reminder of impermanence, gratitude, and opportunity. The sound that begins the day is no longer harsh. It is a call to presence. And by answering it with awareness, you align yourself with the wisdom of the path from the very first breath. To awaken to the sound of the morning bell is to live intentionally. It is to meet the transition from night to day with clarity, presence, and gratitude. It is to honor waking as practice, not as accident. And when this becomes habit, every day begins not in distraction but in peace, carrying you forward with the strength and clarity that mindfulness alone can bring. Awakening to the sound of the morning bell shows how the first breath of the day can anchor presence, yet the practice of mindfulness is not limited to beginnings. It also belongs in the quiet hours when you return to rest. The body may lie down seeking comfort, but the mind often remains caught in tension, replaying tasks, clinging to worry, or drifting into dullness. Buddhism teaches that rest itself can be turned into meditation, a living practice that dissolves stress and restores balance. When lying down is approached with awareness, it ceases to be mere sleep preparation. It becomes a sacred posture of mindfulness, where peace arises naturally from attention itself. Rest becomes meditation when awareness accompanies the body. In sitting meditation, posture, breath, and focus align to anchor the mind. When lying down, the same principles apply. The body is supported by the bed, free from the need to hold itself upright. This physical ease creates an opportunity. With no effort to maintain balance, awareness can flow more gently into the sensations of breathing, the rise and fall of the belly, or the spreading release of muscles. Instead of collapsing unconsciously, you rest in the unfolding of presence. This practice dissolves stress because stress thrives on unconscious patterns. Worries cycle endlessly when left unattended. By bringing gentle attention to the body, to breath, and to the mind's movements, you interrupt this cycle. Awareness is like light in a dark room. It reveals what is happening without judgment. When the mind sees clearly, its grip on tension loosens, the shoulders soften, the jaw releases, the heartbeat steadies. Rest is no longer resistance to stress, but the ground where stress dissolves naturally. Lying down meditation also teaches acceptance. Unlike sitting, where posture demands alertness, lying down often leads toward drowsiness. Instead of fighting it, you include it in practice. Awareness of drowsiness becomes part of meditation. You notice how consciousness shifts, how clarity fades, how thoughts blur. This observation itself is practice, showing you the impermanence of mind states. By accepting drowsiness rather than resisting, you rest more fully, whether or not sleep comes. The method can begin simply. Once you lie down, pause before closing your eyes. Take 3 slow breaths, acknowledging the shift from activity to rest. Then, let your attention rest on the body. Notice the contact with the bed, the distribution of weight, the areas of tension and release. Move attention slowly through the body, not forcing relaxation, but allowing awareness itself to soften each area. This is body scanning, a meditation adapted to rest. It quiets both body and mind, guiding them into harmony. Breath remains the central anchor. Following its rhythm without control allows the nervous system to shift into calm. Each inhale is a gentle acceptance of life. Each exhale is a release of tension. This rhythm continues naturally, even without effort. By resting attention here, you dissolve the need to chase thoughts. The breath becomes a quiet lullaby, steady and trustworthy. Over time, the mind learns to associate lying down not with worry, but with this rhythm of peace. Turning rest into meditation also reshapes how you view sleep. Often people approach sleep with demand, "I must sleep now." This pressure creates anxiety, but when rest itself is treated as meditation, the goal shifts. Sleep may come, but even if it does not, you are still practicing. The body receives relaxation, the mind receives clarity. Insomnia loses its sting because the night is not wasted. Every moment of mindful rest becomes nourishment, whether or not unconsciousness arrives. This practice also connects deeply with compassion. As you rest, extend kindness to the body for carrying you through the day. Thank it for its strength, forgive it for its limits, and allow it to release. Extend kindness to the mind for its efforts, even its worries. By holding yourself with compassion in this posture, you create the emotional safety needed for deep rest. The heart, once softened, no longer fuels stress. Dreams that follow are often gentler because they arise from a heart already soothed. Another dimension is awareness of thoughts. Lying down often unleashes mental chatter, but meditation shifts your relationship to it. Instead of wrestling with thoughts, you observe them. You see how they arise, linger briefly, and dissolve. You notice patterns without judgment. Over time, this observation weakens identification. The mind learns that it is not bound by thoughts, it is the awareness that sees them. This recognition dissolves stress at its root, because much of stress comes from believing every thought is true. Silence supports this practice. Lying in a quiet space, free from external noise, allows you to hear the subtler sounds within, the heartbeat, the rhythm of breath, the hum of stillness. This silence is not empty, but alive. Resting in it is meditation in itself. In Buddhist practice, silence is honored because it opens space for awareness. By embracing it while lying down, you deepen your connection to the present moment. There is also a symbolic dimension. Lying down is traditionally the posture of the Buddha's final rest, depicted in statues of the reclining Buddha. This posture represents surrender, peace, and awakening even in the face of impermanence. To lie down mindfully is to connect with this lineage of practice. You honor rest as part of the path, not as escape, but as realization. Each night, when you rest with awareness, you mirror the same dignity of release. Over time, turning rest into meditation transforms not only nights but days. Stress loses its hold because you have practiced releasing it nightly. Awareness grows sharper because you have trained in presence even during transitions. Compassion deepens because you have practiced meeting yourself with kindness in moments of vulnerability. Sleep improves, not because you forced it, but because the mind and body, bathed in mindfulness, naturally settle into balance. This practice requires no special conditions. It can be done in silence, with soft chanting, or with awareness of the environment. It can last a few minutes or carry you into sleep. What matters is the posture of the mind, attentive, compassionate, present. By bringing meditation into rest, you close the gap between practice and daily life. Night becomes not the absence of mindfulness, but its continuation. To lie down as meditation is to reclaim rest as sacred. It is to dissolve stress not by fleeing from it, but by observing it until it fades. It is to align body, breath, and mind in harmony, allowing peace to emerge naturally. Each night offers this opportunity. By embracing it, you transform the ordinary act of lying down into a doorway to clarity, presence, and renewal. And when morning arrives, you rise not only restored, but also trained in mindfulness, ready to meet the day with the same awareness carried through the night. Rest turned into meditation shows that even lying down can be sacred when met with awareness. But the practice can go even deeper when attention is directed gently through the body itself. The body is often taken for granted, treated only as a tool for productivity or as something to criticize. Yet Buddhism teaches that this body is both a vessel and a teacher, carrying us through life moment by moment. To scan it with mindfulness before rest is not merely a relaxation technique, it is an act of compassion. By moving awareness through each part of the body, you are offering gratitude, care, and kindness to the very being that sustains you. This practice transforms the night into a ritual of healing, where rest is combined with love for the body. Mindful body scanning as compassion practice begins with intention. The purpose is not to control the body or force it to relax, but to meet each part with gentle awareness. Stress often accumulates because parts of the body are ignored or neglected until they cry out with pain. By scanning slowly from head to toe, you acknowledge every part, even those that usually go unnoticed. This acknowledgement is compassion in action, an inner bow to the body's service. The process can begin at the crown of the head. Awareness rests there softly, then moves to the forehead, noticing tension held from thought or concentration. Instead of judging the tightness, you greet it kindly. "Thank you for carrying me through the day." This subtle shift changes the relationship with the body. Instead of demanding it be different, you appreciate it as it is. This appreciation itself allows tension to release. As awareness travels, each area becomes a site of care. The eyes, which have worked tirelessly, are softened with gratitude. The jaw, often clenched with unspoken words or hidden stress, is given permission to rest. The shoulders, burdened by responsibility, are acknowledged with kindness. By pausing with each part, you create a rhythm of care that spreads through the body. This rhythm is not mechanical but heartfelt. Each moment of attention is a gift of compassion. Breath supports the process. With each inhale, you welcome awareness into a body part. With each exhale, you release tension. The breath becomes a bridge between mind and body, carrying compassion inward. Over time, the body learns to trust this rhythm, responding with deeper relaxation. Muscles soften, circulation improves, and the nervous system shifts into healing mode. This is not forced but natural, arising from the union of awareness and care. Mindful body scanning also reveals the truth of impermanence. As you move awareness through the body, you notice sensations constantly changing: warmth, coolness, tingling, heaviness. Nothing remains fixed. This observation teaches that the body itself is a field of impermanence, always in flux. Recognizing this truth reduces attachment and fear. You see that change is natural, even within your own skin. Rest becomes easier because you stop resisting what is already in motion. The practice also addresses the relationship between mind and body. Stress in the mind manifests as tightness in the body, Neglect of the body clouds the mind. By scanning with compassion, you heal this divide. The mind listens to the body feels cared for, and harmony arises. Sleep entered from this state is not merely unconscious rest, but holistic renewal. You wake not only refreshed, but more attuned to the body's needs during the day. Body scanning as compassion practice can be especially powerful for areas of discomfort. Pain often creates aversion. The instinct is to push it away, yet pushing only adds tension. By bringing awareness with kindness to the place of pain, you change the dynamic. You say silently, "I see you, I care for you." This soft attention does not always erase pain, but it eases the suffering around it. The body feels less abandoned and the mind less fearful. This compassionate approach transforms the experience of discomfort into practice. Gratitude is woven naturally into the practice. As you scan, you reflect on the service each part provides. Legs that carried you, hands that created, lungs that breathed, heart that beat tirelessly, all are acknowledged with appreciation. This gratitude shifts the inner dialogue from criticism to respect. Instead of lying down with thoughts of inadequacy, you rest with reverence for the life carried in your body. Dreams that follow such practice often reflect this gratitude, bringing images of harmony rather than conflict. Science echoes these teachings. Studies show that body scanning reduces anxiety, lowers blood pressure, and improves sleep quality. But beyond measurable outcomes, practitioners report feeling more connected to themselves, more compassionate, and more present. The body becomes not just a physical form, but a living field of awareness. This perspective changes how you live, not just how you sleep. Practical application is simple but profound. As you lie down, close your eyes and bring awareness to the crown of the head. Move slowly downward, pausing with each part. Offer kindness, release, tension, breathe deeply. Continue until you reach the toes, then rest in the whole body as one field of compassion. There is no rush. Some nights you may only reach the chest before drifting into sleep. That is enough. The practice is not about completion, but about intention. Over time, mindful body scanning reshapes the way you relate to the body daily. You notice tension earlier, respond with care sooner, and live with greater respect for your physical being. Compassion ceases to be abstract, it becomes embodied. Rest transforms into a nightly ritual of kindness, and life itself reflects this gentleness. To practice mindful body scanning as compassion is to turn rest into an act of love. It is to see the body not as obstacle or tool, but as companion. It is to honor its service with attention and care. Each night offers this chance. By embracing it, you dissolve stress, nurture gratitude, and prepare the mind and body for peace. When you wake, you rise not only restored but also softened, ready to meet the world with the same compassion you offered to yourself in the quiet of the night. Scanning the body with compassion allows rest to become healing, but even with such care, the night may still bring unsettling dreams. Many recoil from nightmares, treating them as curses or disturbances to be erased. Yet in Buddhism, even what is painful can be a teacher. Nightmares are not enemies, they are messages from the depths of the mind, revealing attachments, fears, and unresolved emotions. When approached with awareness, they become part of the Dharma itself, teachings wrapped in difficult forms. To understand nightmares as opportunities is to transform fear into compassion and discomfort into insight. The first step is reframing. Instead of asking, "Why did I have such a horrible dream?" you can ask, "What is this dream showing me about my mind?" This shift removes blame and opens curiosity. Nightmares are not random punishments. They are expressions of subconscious patterns, often carrying truths that waking life ignores. By meeting them with mindfulness rather than aversion, you gain access to lessons normally hidden beneath the surface. Nightmares often reveal clinging. Dreams of being chased, of losing control, of losing loved ones, all point to attachments. These attachments are not inherently bad, but they bind the mind. The fear in the nightmare mirrors the fear of losing what you cling to in waking life. Recognizing this does not mean rejecting relationships or security. It means seeing clearly that attachment creates suffering. The nightmare becomes a direct experience of the Buddha's first noble truth, delivered in the language of the subconscious. Another insight nightmares offer is the reality of impermanence. In them, familiar places dissolve, trusted people shift, and stability crumbles. The terror arises from the refusal to accept this impermanence. By reflecting on the dream with awareness, you see that what disturbed you was not the change itself, but the mind's resistance to it. This realization strengthens your ability to meet impermanence in waking life with greater acceptance. Nightmares thus prepare the heart to face reality more openly. Compassion is another response to nightmares. Many dream of harm, conflict, or suffering. Instead of waking with fear or guilt, you can meet these images with loving kindness. Extend compassion to the characters in the dream, even those who seemed threatening. Recognize that they are reflections of your own mind, fragments of fear, anger, or desire. By offering kindness to them, you are offering kindness to yourself. This practice transforms nightmares into opportunities for healing the fractured parts of your being. Nightmares also highlight the illusion of self. In them, you may take on roles that feel both you and not you. You may act in ways that surprise you or experience situations beyond your control. These shifts reveal that the self is not fixed. The ego you defend during the day dissolves in the fluidity of dreams. To reflect on this after a nightmare is to loosen ego's grip. You see that what you call self is as malleable as dream characters arising, changing, and passing without permanence. Practical steps can help integrate nightmares into practice. Upon waking, instead of dismissing the dream, pause, breathe. Acknowledge the emotions it stirred: fear, anger, sadness. Name them gently. Then reflect. What attachment or fear does this reveal? What part of myself needs compassion? This reflection prevents the nightmare from lingering as trauma and instead transforms it into teaching. Writing the dream down can deepen this process, giving form to insights that might otherwise fade. Nightmares can also serve as training for resilience. If you can meet fear in the vulnerable state of dreaming, you build strength for waking challenges. The mind learns that fear does not destroy you, it passes. By practicing compassion and mindfulness with nightmares, you train in facing discomfort without collapsing. This resilience is one of the greatest gifts nightmares can offer. Buddhist traditions sometimes use visualization practices to work directly with nightmares. If a dream of being chased recurs, you can, while awake, visualize turning toward the pursuer and offering compassion. This practice reshapes the subconscious response, sometimes transforming the nightmare into a more peaceful dream. Such methods show that the mind can be trained even in the realm of dreams, and that compassion is powerful enough to dissolve fear even in the darkest images. Nightmares also remind you of the karmic seeds you plant. What you consume during the day, media, conversations, emotions, often surfaces at night. Difficult dreams reveal the residue of these seeds. By noticing patterns, you become more mindful of daily choices. If anger in waking life becomes conflict in dreams, then cultivating patience in the day becomes a remedy. The nightmare is thus not only a reflection but also a guide for ethical living. Silence after a nightmare can be valuable. Instead of rushing to distract yourself, sit with the residue. Let the body calm, let the breath deepen. In this stillness, insight arises. You begin to see the dream not as random chaos, but as a mirror. What once terrified you becomes a teacher. Over time, this shifts your relationship with all discomfort. You learn that even pain can be instructive when met with presence. Nightmares can also inspire gratitude. When you wake and realize the events of the dream were not real, gratitude for reality naturally arises. You see your life with new clarity. The loved ones you feared losing are still here. The security you feared dissolving is intact. This gratitude softens daily irritations, reminding you of the fragility and preciousness of life. The nightmare, once seen as torment, becomes a catalyst for appreciation. Over months of practice, nightmares lose their power to disturb. They may still arise, but they are no longer enemies. Each one is met with awareness, compassion, and reflection. Fear becomes curiosity. Agitation becomes teaching. This transformation reshapes not only the night but also the day. You live with less fear, less clinging, and more openness, because you have trained in the realm of dreams to meet even the darkest moments with clarity. To understand nightmares as Dharma is to embrace the full spectrum of experience. Peace and disturbance, joy and fear, all can be teachers. Nightmares remind you that the path is not about avoiding difficulty, but about transforming it. When you meet them with compassion and insight, you turn what once was terror into wisdom. The night becomes not a place of dread, but another field of practice, where even in darkness, the light of awareness shines. Nightmares remind us that even discomfort can be a teacher, showing hidden attachments and offering space for compassion, but wisdom also lies in prevention. Just as the body thrives when cared for with wholesome food and exercise, the mind rests more easily when the conditions around it are pure. Buddhism has long taught the 5 precepts as ethical guidelines for living with clarity and integrity. When adapted to the realm of sleep, these same principles become powerful foundations for rest. By honoring them, you prepare a mental and physical environment that welcomes peace instead of agitation. In this way, the night becomes not only recovery, but a continuation of practice grounded in virtue. The first precept is refraining from harm. Applied to sleep, it means creating conditions that do not wound body or mind before rest. Choosing gentle activities at night, avoiding arguments or harsh entertainment, and treating your own body with kindness all fall under this principle. If the last moments before sleep are soaked in violence or cruelty, the mind cannot settle. By keeping non-harm at the center of your evening, you soften the ground for dreams that reflect safety and care. The second precept, refraining from taking what is not given, also has a place in rest. To steal time from sleep by overworking, overindulging, or neglecting your body is to take from yourself what has not been freely given. The body asks for restoration, and when you ignore that call, you rob it of what it needs. Honoring this precept means respecting rest as a right, not an optional luxury. It is the discipline of giving yourself what is required for health and balance. The third precept, avoiding harmful sexual conduct, relates to the energy you carry into night. Desire left unchecked can create restlessness, feeding the mind with agitation. When approached mindfully, intimacy can be wholesome and tender, but indulgence without awareness fuels craving. To apply this precept to sleep is to ensure the heart is not driven by restless desire when you lie down. Peace arises when the energy of the body is guided by care rather than compulsion. The fourth precept, refraining from false or harmful speech, shapes the climate of rest as well. Words spoken during the evening do not vanish. They echo in the heart and return in dreams. Gossip, lies, or harshness linger in the subconscious, while words of kindness ease the heart. By practicing right speech before bed, you purify the mind's atmosphere. Silence itself can be a form of this precept, choosing not to fill the night with noise but to let quiet carry you into rest. The fifth precept, avoiding intoxicants, is directly relevant. Substances that cloud the mind or agitate the body interfere with the natural rhythm of sleep. Alcohol, stimulants, or excess consumption may offer temporary numbness, but they fragment rest and disturb dreams. To honor this precept in sleep hygiene is to approach rest with clarity, allowing the mind to settle naturally rather than by force. This clarity leads to deeper, more restorative sleep. Together, these 5 guidelines create a field of purity. They protect the mind from agitation, the body from harm, and the night from disturbance. Sleep then becomes not only biological recovery, but ethical practice. Each evening becomes an opportunity to embody the same values you cultivate by day, aligning your rest with the path of wisdom and compassion. Adapting the 5 precepts to sleep hygiene also teaches responsibility. Rest is not separate from ethics. It reflects the choices you make. By living gently, truthfully, and wisely during the evening, you plant seeds of peace that bloom in the night. The quality of dreams and the clarity of mornings mirror the purity of conditions created beforehand. This practice also nurtures consistency. Just as the 5 precepts guide daily life, applying them nightly builds rhythm. Rest is no longer random, but rooted in discipline. The mind learns to associate bedtime with safety, integrity, and calm. Over time, this rhythm becomes self-sustaining. Sleep comes more easily because the mind trusts the conditions you have built for it. By honoring the 5 precepts in the context of rest, you also bridge the gap between spiritual practice and ordinary life. Sleep is no longer something outside the path, but part of it. The ethical foundation you live by day flows seamlessly into night. In this way, every 24 hours become a cycle of continuous practice. Action, reflection, release, and renewal. To practice in this way is to see rest, not as escape, but as cultivation. You care for the body and mind, not only for your own well-being, but for the benefit of others. A well-rested mind is kinder, clearer, more resilient. Your presence in the world the next day is directly shaped by how you cared for yourself the night before. By aligning rest with the 5 precepts, you make sleep itself an offering of peace. Each night is more than sleep. It is a journey through letting go, through breath, through balance, through compassion, through silence, and through clarity. It is a chance to practice the Dharma in the most ordinary of ways by resting wisely. From learning to release the grip of ego, to treating insomnia as a teacher, to using gratitude, chanting, reflection, and mindful presence. Every lesson reminds us of one truth. Peace is not found by chasing it, but by creating the right conditions for it to bloom. When you carry these teachings into your nights, rest is no longer just recovery. It becomes meditation, compassion, and practice. And when you carry them into your mornings, clarity guides your every step. The mind grows lighter, the heart grows softer, and life itself becomes easier to meet with wisdom and strength. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these Buddhist lessons spoke to you most deeply? Was it letting go before sleep? Or perhaps turning rest itself into meditation? Share your reflections in the comments. I'd love to read how these practices resonate with your journey. And if these teachings brought you value, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell so you can continue walking this path of peace, one lesson at a time.